So James, you're recusing from 11 and 13.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready now.
Okay. All right, welcome to the March 2nd, 2021 City Planning Commission meeting. It's nice to see everybody again and nice to see the sun and a little warmth come to us. As everybody knows, my least favorite day is coming up in a couple of weekends. That's the springing forward for daylight savings. We appreciate everybody here as we hold our City Planning Commission meetings virtually. Once the pandemic emergency order ends, we will evaluate how our meetings will be held moving forward. Any feedback you have is welcomed on this. We understand every project is important and we want to make sure we address them all with the attention they need. However, we need to keep our meetings efficient. As such, we've implemented time limits for the cases that we hear. We expect 5 minutes for staff presentations, 20 minutes for applicant presentations, plus any questions by the commission. And then once we move to public comment, please limit comments to 2 minutes for individuals or 5 minutes for those representing a community association or larger group. The goal is to be heard, but yet to be brief. So just another reminder, the city is updating the comprehensive plan with a new one titled the KC Spirit Playbook to stay informed and to provide input or just see what's going on with it. Please check out the KC Spirit Playbook online at playbook.kcmo.gov. So as we get started here, I asked staff to briefly provide some ground rules and instructions for all of us to ensure that we have minimal disruption and maximum clarity. So Joe, can you please remind us of those rules?
Yeah, the main thing is to keep in mind if you're an attendee in the meeting, you're not able to be heard or be seen until you're promoted over to a panelist position. And as the chair referenced, when there's a case that is called that you're interested in, just raise your hand and we'll promote you over to a panelist position. When that occurs, it'll appear as though you're being kicked out of Zoom temporarily, but don't worry, you'll rejoin as a panelist. And at that time, you'll be able to be seen and heard. We would just ask that you not speak or at least have yourself muted until you're called on by name. Also, if you can change your screen name to your first and last name, that helps us identify you and call you when it's your turn to speak. And just for all the panelists, of course, who've the same people here every meeting, we're pretty used to it by this point to just remain muted unless we're speaking. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Joe. So let's go ahead and start today's meeting. We'll go with the consent agenda items, and I think we have a couple of continuances.
We do have 2 continuances on our consent docket, starting with C2, which is case number final plat 2020-00040, Fountain Hills 12th plat, located at 1755 Northwest 96. The agenda does say continuance off docket. However, the applicant is requesting continuance to April 20th, and staff is supportive of that date. We recommend no fee. Docket item C3, case number CPC 2020-00038, which is Pine Grove Point 4th plat. This is located at the northwest corner of North Hardesty and Northeast Pine Grove Drive. Staff is recommending continuance of that one to March 16th without fee.
Okay. I assume docket item C2 kind of follows along with the Northland soccer complex, hence as we keep kind of pushing it down the road a little bit.
No, on that one, there is this plat backs up adjacent to an existing road and right of way, and they need part of that right of way for the lot depth. It was always anticipated that right of way would be vacated when the original development plan was approved 15 years ago, 16 years ago. It just hasn't been yet, and so we're kind of at that point where they're trying to get the cart before the horse on the vacation. And I know that the applicant's online, maybe she wants to add some additional information, but that's my understanding of the primary reason for the continuances.
Okay, I think that'd be good to hear and just to make sure, because it was stated to be off docket, but now we're going back to 420, just making sure that's plenty of time for them.
Gotcha. I've just promoted Patricia Jensen.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Patricia Jensen and I represent BT Residential in this case, which is also the developer of the Fountain Hills subdivision. This is the 12th plat for Fountain Hills, and Joe is correct. Years and years ago, when Fountain Hills was approved and amended, we anticipated that 96th Street would be vacated because 96th Street there going east goes into Highway 169 and really doesn't serve a function. We're in discussions with Public Works because at one point they had a change of viewpoint since that time, and we're working through that issue with them. We would like to continue it to the 20th because we want to keep things going, as I'm not sure how many of you have heard in the Northland, our builders are running out of lots to sell and to develop. So it's important for us to keep things moving on a timeline and not be continued off the docket.
okay. Thank you for the update. I appreciate that. Any questions from the commission on these two cases, docket items C2 and C3 to continue? Okay, Joe, is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak on continuance of these two cases?
Mr. Chair, I don't see anyone else. Oh, there is someone that just raised their hand named Kathy Tinoco. I'll promote Kathy.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi. Good morning, Kathy. How are you?
Good morning. I just have a very quick question. I logged in and I wasn't quite sure. I did notice that you were continuing two cases. The one I'm most interested in is CD CPC 2020-00186. Was that mentioned in those two?
No, it was not. We're just working on the consent agenda items at this time.
Oh, very good. I apologize.
186, that we'll get to that next. We
Okay,
are going to continue that one.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else?
No.
Okay. So I'll take a motion to continue these two cases.
I move to continue docket item C2 to April 20th with no fee, and docket item C3 to March 16th with no fee.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second. Lisa, do you mind taking roll call, please? Mr. Rojas, you are on mute, so just making sure you know that. Thank you.
Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Prowl,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, so motion passes to continue docket items C2 and C3 to the date stated in the motion. So we'll go to docket item C1.
All right, C1 is case number final plat 2020-00046. This is for the Blue River Commerce Center. It's to create one lot on 24 acres at the northeast corner of Bannister Road and Troost Avenue. Staff is recommending approval with conditions.
Okay, any questions from the commission regarding docket item C1?
I just have a quick question. I was wondering, was there any environmental abatement? I remember some time ago that there was some concern about this property before, and I didn't see it in any of our notes. So I was just wondering, is that something that you all are tracking for that has been done on the site?
I'm gonna see if the applicant can answer that question. I'm looking for the applicant to raise their hand at this time. I'm not sure if Olafu, do you know if they're online?
I am looking to see if they're online, Joe.
Okay.
It should be Chris Chancellor
He's
or
not
Brian
on.
Fokker.
There's Brian Forker. I'm gonna throw him into the fire here. Brian, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Joe.
Is that something you can answer, or is there someone else that's better suited to that question?
There's probably someone better suited from that, but we went through the environmental remediation during the overall UR development plan process at that point and provided the city the documentation that they were asked for through the UR development plan zoning. So that had been addressed at that time. We're just here for a final plat so that we can plat the property and proceed with building 2 at this time.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Hill?
Yeah, that's the best answer he has. I'll just look into it. I'm sure it was provided. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission regarding docket item C1? Okay, is there anybody from the public who would like to talk about docket item C1?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, with that, I'll take a motion on docket item C1.
I move to approve docket item C1 with conditions.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second. Lisa, do you mind taking roll call, please, on that motion?
Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Prowl,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, looks like motion passes for docket item C1, 7-0. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to our regular docket. And start with the continuances, please.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and start with those continuances. We have, just so for everyone following along, we're going to be asking for continuance of docket item 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 12, and 14. So docket item 1 is case number CPC 2020-00198. This is the Uptown Theater UR plan. It actually applies to the property just across the street from the theater at the northwest corner of Broadway and Valentine Road. Staff is requesting continuance to March 16th. Docket item 2 is case number SUP 2020-00058, which is a special use permit for a proposed drive-through restaurant at 125 Linwood Boulevard. Staff is recommending continuance to March 16th without fee. Docket item 3 is case number CPC 2020-00191. This is for Mazuma Credit Union on North Oak at 9700 North Traffic Way. It's a rezoning from District MPD to District MPD to amend a previously approved plan at that location. The applicant is requesting continuance to March 16th. Staff recommends no fee. Docket item 6, case number CPC 2020-00186 is 29 Bell located at 913 West 29th Street. This is a request for approval of a rezoning to District UR and a preliminary development plan. The applicant is requesting continuance of this case to May 4th. Staff recommends no fee. Docket item 7 is case number CPC 2020-00207. This is the Cats on Main project located at 3948 Main Street. It's a request to rezone to District UR and approve a preliminary plan for the redevelopment of the property. Staff is recommending continuance of this one to March 16th with no fee. Docket item 8.1 is case number CPC 2019-00065. This is a request to make a finding of blight and approve a PIEA plan on property located at 4504 and 4522 through 36 Troost Avenue for the 45th and Troost mixed use project. There's a companion case for this, docket item 8.2, which is a rezoning to District UR and approval of a preliminary development plan. for the redevelopment of the property into 2 mixed-use buildings with about 100 residential use units at the same location. Staff is recommending continuance of both of these cases to March 16th without fee. Next continuance is docket item 12, case number CPC 2020-00058. This is Foley Equipment at 5701 East 87th Street. It's a request to approve a major amendment to a previously approved development plan at the location at southwest corner of 87th and I-435. The applicant is requesting continuance to March 16th without fee. And the last one is docket item 14, case number CPC 2021-00008. This is the project known as 19 Vine and 1901 Vine Street. It's a request to rezone the property and approve an amendment to a previously approved development plan to allow an 80-unit mixed-use building at 19th and Vine. The applicant is requesting continuance of this case to March 16th, and staff recommends no fee.
Okay. Is there any questions from the commission on continuance of those cases? Okay. How about, has anybody from the public raised their hand about continuing those docket items read?
Mr. Chair, no one's raised their, someone just raised their hand.
Okay.
Arturo and Maria Toledo, I'm promoting now.
Okay.
So
Hi, good morning.
my name's
Go ahead.
my name's Lupe Toledo. I'm actually their daughter. And I would like to ask that if you're going to move that to May 6th, the docket number CD CPC 2020-00186 from 29 Bell, that when sending out information, if you would please ensure that that information is bilingual so that other individuals in that neighborhood know when the meeting is scheduled and can be prepared. If at that time it's still online, then I would recommend and suggest that you have sites perhaps where people can gather to also and be in attendance at this meeting so that their voices can be heard.
Okay. Olafu, I believe that's your case. Do we know, has the notices been sent out and has there been a public meeting on that particular docket item? I think that's docket item, this number 6 on the agenda.
Notices were sent out and I think they've had a public meeting, but what she's asking me is that we should send it out in Spanish.
Okay.
I don't, can Sarah chime in on that? The city does not send out notices and the CPC has not done that, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't really speak for your department, Olafu, but I believe what you're stating is correct. And I don't believe we have the resources for that, unfortunately.
I'm sorry, but resources, those, I'm sorry, but that if you are considering including the people that live in those neighborhoods, then I think it has to be a high priority for you, if you really care about the people in those neighborhoods, to put your information in both languages. If you truly care about the people and the individuals and then that live there and have lived there for many years and have supported the city of Kansas City in many service industries. So I think that there are funds available to get from other sites. But this is an important matter to many individuals in that city and in that neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else, Joe, raise your hand?
Mason Olson.
Okay. Hi, Mason, as you come off mute, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Morning, commissioners and the city staff. My name is Mason Olson, 7301 West 133rd Street. I'm a civil engineer with Olson on project case number CD CPC 2020-00191. Just following up here, we had submitted plan revisions addressing the city concerns with the access on 97th Street. I believe we were under the impression our case would be docketed and heard on today's and not continued to the next meeting. I don't know if Todd is on here, it can speak additionally to that, but I believe that was on our impression that our case would be heard today.
You or
Okay.
Jamie, can you please speak to that?
I can. Good morning. From what I can see is that those revisions are still under review. And so once the engineering issues have been resolved, then we can move forward. I anticipate this being ready for the next docket.
And that would be March 16th.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, so it sounds like the comments that were sent in, they're just want enough time to get through the review to meet the deadlines for this meeting. And so they're going to have those reviewed and ready for the next meeting on the 16th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else raise their hand, Joe, to speak on any of the cases we plan to continue?
Yeah, there was one other person. Now there's a fourth. The third person is Kathy Tinoco, who's already promoted.
Okay.
Sir.
Hi, Kathy. There you go.
Good morning. I just wanted to confirm that there has been no public meeting held regarding 2020-00186. The only correspondence was received was that undated English only letter, but there was never any type of public meeting held at all. I just want to make that very clear, okay? By the applicant, none at all.
Okay, well, at this point in time, we're just hearing about the continuance of the case and not trying to get into the merit of it. That's something I'm sure that the planner will look into prior to putting it on the docket May 4th.
Yes, sir. I was just answering the question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, the fourth person was Rafael Cervantes, who's been.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Cervantes. If you can state your name and address for the record, please.
Rafael Cervantes, 2908 Bellevue Avenue, KC Mo, 64108.
Okay.
I want to speak on case number CD CPC 2020-00186.
Okay.
I just want to echo what was previously said. It's absolutely important that these notices get mailed out in Spanish. This is a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood. And to say that you don't have the funds to mail these out in Spanish.
Okay. Lost you.
Mr. Chair, I accidentally kicked him back to attendee. I did not mean to do that. Let me promote him back.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, sorry about that.
Okay, so regarding CD CPC 2020-00186, I just want to echo what was previously said. It's absolutely important that these notices get mailed out in Spanish. This is a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood, has been for decades. And to hear that there are no funds to provide this is just crazy, to be honest with you. I mean, my family's been in this neighborhood for over 50 years. I live directly across the street from where this project is going. You know, the woman that was earlier, concerned about those letters going out in Spanish. I mean, those are neighbors of mine for decades. It's just very important that these notices go out in Spanish. I just want to go on record saying that, and it happened. It must happen.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm sure it's something they'll look into. I mean, I think what Ms. Baxter is saying at this point in time is just the budget and the resources available simply don't have it right now. So that's something they'll be looking into, I'm sure.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I believe the notices have already been sent. So
yes, they have.
I guess what's being requested is that we just completely renotice the case, I guess.
Yeah. In Spanish is on top of English.
Right.
Okay.
So I have a question. This is Commissioner Beasley.
Mhm.
So when we continue a case, we don't send notices that the cases have been continued?
When we continue them to a date certain, we do not. So if you've received the notice and you're here at the hearing and you hear the commission vote to continue this case to May 4th, then it's understood that that's when it'll be heard next. So we don't send another notice for May 4th.
So is it somewhere in public's ability to view that a case has been continued?
Absolutely. We have a website called Compass KC that has all this information on it.
Okay, might refer that to folks as well. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, is there anybody else from the public wishing to speak on the proposed continuances of these cases?
The first person who spoke has raised their hand again. Do you want me to promote them or do you want to allow them to speak again or not?
Sure.
Okay.
So again, this is Lupe Toledo. I'm actually a physician, and to hear that someone is not providing information in bilingual Spanish and English, I think is embarrassing. I, as a physician, would never assume that my patients understand the primary language spoken and would make an effort to provide the information in the language that is most comfortable to them. So I ask you, it seems like a couple of you are scoffing at the idea of resending this information in Spanish, and I don't appreciate that. To me, it shows a lack of respect for the individuals that this is concerning. Perhaps it is going to take more time for you to send out the information, but I think, again, and I will end my comment this way, that if you truly care about your residents, as I thought the commissioners of a city would, that you would ensure that your citizens are heard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question of Ms. Toledo? I guess I'm trying to understand that if we were able to put these in Spanish, I want to make sure there's not a language gap here. Are we able to provide translation as well as a part of this process? I just want to make sure that, you know, we can provide them in Spanish possibly, and that's something we could look into. I just don't want it to be something where people are coming to the commission meeting and needing that translation and it not being available. So I just want to make sure that the request sort of covers all the bases. Does that make sense?
Your commission is a public commission, and you are, I think, should be mandated to be understood by your community at large. I know that here where I live, translation is offered to individuals who do not have English as their primary language. So I think if you, as a city, Kansas City, truly embrace the diverse populations that you have in your city, in my old city, I think it would be important for you guys to incorporate that as part of your purview. Again, as a physician in a community that serves a large number of people with diverse backgrounds and diverse languages, it would be malpractice, I think, for me to not be able to communicate to my patients in the language that they prefer. And I think in some ways what you did, what your commission did, and what your commission is not wanting to do is malpractice.
Mr. Chair, can I make a suggestion for both the commission and the public?
Yes,
please. This is a city-wide issue that needs to come from the top down through the communications office and the city manager's office. So as you can imagine, just like not everyone receiving a letter in English would be able to understand it, the same would be true for people receiving a letter in Spanish. There are likely dozens, if not hundreds, of languages spoken in the city. So just stating that we should assume a neighborhood is predominantly speaking one language and therefore that's the language we ought to send the notice in is not an appropriate solution either. So as far as translation goes and the notices go, that's got to be a citywide decision that affects every board and commission, not just the planning commission and not just on one case.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Is there anybody else that's raised their hand from the public about the continuance of these docket items?
Ms. Tinoco's raised her hand again.
Let's go ahead and pass because I think we've already heard and understand the concerns that she has on this.
Okay.
I want to chime in. So I appreciate the comments and the intent and also the ask. And as I try to figure out the best way to approach this, totally understand, Joe, what you're saying about presuming something about certain neighborhoods and what language might be spoken. I wonder if perhaps the best thing might be, and this is not a fully thought out plan, but maybe perhaps it's something that's at the top that is in Spanish that says, if a Spanish translation is required for this document, please contact so-and-so. And so then as opposed to presuming which notices would need translation and as opposed to requiring resources to translate every single notice, maybe we could use the same couple sentences and maybe we might catch some more engagement from a few more people that otherwise might not participate. Completely understand that this we might run into future issues and that some people might have a hard time in this forum, but at the same time, maybe they would come prepared with someone to help them translate. I like the idea of getting more people involved. And again, completely understand that this is a citywide issue, but perhaps what we all can do is try to think of some small steps that we could take in that direction and perhaps it won't happen immediately. I also want to note, just reiterate to Ms. Toledo and others that from my understanding of where we are in this particular one, the reason that, in no instance would notice be sent out a second time, because again, people who have made it to this forum would have heard that it's being continued to May 4th. And so I completely understand the request for Spanish notices to be sent out for this. Unfortunately, based upon my understanding of the workload, the amount of work to be done, it's likely not something that's going to get fixed on this one, but I think you're right that we can all make steps towards fixing it in the future.
I'd like to say something.
Sure.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, this is not a citywide issue. It's an isolated issue. I don't know how long we all been on this commission or other commissions before us that this request has been made. It is an isolated issue, and you see from time to time all over the place, should you conduct your business in English or Spanish in various departments. So it's not an isolated issue. It's not like we have to go reinvent the wheel for translating a one-time issue. I suggest that we get a legal opinion from city attorneys, but I don't think that we really need that. But I don't know how many years we can go when a request like this is made. So it's an isolated issue. I don't think we should have that much trouble translating a paragraph or two. Thank you.
Just say something. I think Joe's point is that to have a real solution, you do need a citywide program to address this. I can tell you from my experience, what I've observed is that frequently individuals whose first language is Spanish will bring a family member or a friend who will act as their translator. This happens at the Board of Zoning Adjustment, for example. I agree that that's not an ideal solution, but what Joe said is accurate. Right now, we don't have a citywide solution to address this. So I think that was his point. And so it's being addressed in that way. Individuals bringing family members and friends to serve as their translator.
And again, did I understand correctly that there has not been a public meeting?
That I don't know. We'll have to hear from the actual planner on that. Olafu, can you weigh in on that question?
Yeah, it seemed to me that they want to be inclusive, be in the building right in the middle of a predominantly Spanish-speaking community.
Yeah, the case is being continued And the original continuance was to, on your docket, it should say April 6th. And the reason was there's an accompanying area plan amendment that they had applied after the original application. But the applicant now has asked for this continuance to be moved to May 4th. So there've not been a public engagement meeting yet. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
And yeah, I agree that on the translation part, it's a citywide issue, but I think to Commissioner Rojas's point, there are interim steps where you don't have to translate everything, but you can notify people with a paragraph or two, and that could be included in the notice. And I think at a minimum that should be happening on a department level as well, because it's not that difficult to do that. And I'm sure we can find some resources to do a generic paragraph with a link or whatever to get people to where they need to go, or the resources that they need if they need to participate.
It seems like the applicant can very easily do that himself, being that he is building right where he's building, you know, and just out of good neighborhood. Seems to me that's good public policy.
This Commissioner Hill, you know, I was just going to echo the sentiments and even the advice that Commissioner Enders has given. I think for us, this public engagement policy 88505-12 is where we need to have some discussion about if it's required, if public engagement is required. It's because that we as a city think that community engagement is the best process when we're talking about economic development opportunities. So then if an applicant or a developer is hosting a meeting to discuss, perhaps that is their responsibility also to figure out if there needs to be translation. And so having something at the top, or at least putting a condition in that 85505-12 that says if that community is requesting translation, that the developer or applicant provide that for that community meeting. And certainly that is, you know, elevated back up to us in our packet when we get the summary. I know that's not a complete and you know, holistic approach. Certainly if folks want to come to our meeting, we need to have a process by which their voices could be elevated, but I think we at least need to start with that policy.
And you get plenty of cooperation from the neighborhood on what you just said.
Yeah, so for this particular case, I want to just note, hopefully the applicant's online, and if they are, clearly some of the commissioners, and I would include myself in this, are going to be interested to hear that during the public engagement process, there's effort made to reach those who don't speak English as their primary language. And so I will be weighing that as to whether that has been reached and whether effort has been put in on this particular case. And again, I appreciate the comments made today, and we'll try to work with city staff to figure out the best way to approach this in the future, because again, they're all working crazy overtime on, and it's a big issue.
Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate the comments. I mean, it's not something that we're taking lightly. It's just, as of today, this is what we have, but I'm certain I'll be talking to Director Williams about this and seeing what we can do a little bit differently to make sure we've got representation from everybody. And certainly appreciate Commissioner Enders's comments about how we can make sure we get this out as in Spanish as well as English, especially for the public meetings. And thank you, Mr. Rojas, and Commissioner Hill too, for your comments. Appreciate them. And so I think at this time we'll close public testimony. And so I'm looking for a motion for continuance of these docket items. Do we need to rehearse which ones those are? Or everybody knows?
I think I might have them, but certainly help me revise it. So Chair Crowell, I move that we continue docket items 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8.1, 8.2, 12, and 14 as stated on the docket.
Okay, and I think we need to adjust 1 to continue to 3/16 without a fee, and docket item 6 to May 4th without a fee. think those are the only two adjustments from the actual agenda.
Correct.
Okay,
Second.
I've got a motion and a second on this. So Lisa, do you mind taking roll call, please?
Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Corral,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes to continue all those cases to the date stated within the motion. Thank you again for everybody's comments on those. And I'm sure we'll figure out something for docket item number 6 to make sure we get the right notice out to everybody. So that takes us to docket item number 4. We ready for that?
Yeah, just a moment.
Okay.
Docket item 4 is case number SUP 2020-00061. Lopez Auto Sales at 8100 East US 40 Highway. Request to approve a special use permit for light equipment sales and rental outdoor uses at this location. Christopher Huey is the staff planner.
Mr. Chair, I'm doing a quick search of the attendees. I don't see the applicant online. Do you want me to go ahead and present, or do you want me to reach out to them, see if they can join?
Let's go ahead and reach out to them and see if they can join the meeting, and we'll go to the next one if that's all right. So we'll hold docket item number 4 and then move to docket item 5.1 and 5.2.
Docket item 5.1, case number CPC 2020-00171. Request to approve a rezoning from District B1 to B3-1 for automotive uses located at 5030 Blue Ridge Boulevard. And docket item 5.2, case number CPC 2020-00172, a request to amend the Stadium Park East area plan to change the recommended land use from mixed use community to commercial on about 1 acre at the same location. Jamie Hickey is the staff planner.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I will begin to share my screen. One moment. That's not right. Sorry about that. Hold on. There we are. All right, what we have before you, as Joe mentioned, are 2 applications for 5030 Blue Ridge Cutoff. One is a rezoning case and one is an area plan amendment. The applicant is seeking approval of an amendment to the Stadium Park East area plan from mixed use community to commercial, as well as a rezoning from, I apologize, that's incorrect. It's from B1-1 to B3-1 in order to operate a limited automotive repair business. This applicant did hold a public meeting on November 2nd. So this property is located right outside the Raytown city limits. More specifically, it is located at the intersection of Snybar Road and Blue Ridge Cutoff. It's right here on the corner. What you can see here are Google Street View images as this property was last year, which are the most recent images. Currently, the property does not have all these cars on site, but otherwise looks largely the same. As you can see, it is a property that was built with sort of an auto-oriented use in mind, that has these roll-away garage doors, that has the fuel canopy. So it is a single-story commercial building on the lot. It has previously been, I think most recently used as an automotive sales location. The applicant is proposing some changes to the site, including improvements to the landscaping and the parking lot. And the applicant is proposing only to use the site at present for limited automotive repair. Limited automotive repair is first allowed by right in District B3, so this does require both the rezoning and the area plan amendment. At this time, no significant changes are planned to the building itself. When this applicant submitted their initial application, it was unclear what exactly the use was going to be as far as what level of repair. So it should be noted that this is for limited automotive repair at this point. If the applicant in the future would like to have general automotive repair, which would do things like body work, engine work, things like that, or any outdoor automotive sales, they would have to come back through for a special use permit. They are not planning to do so at this time. They also would be permitted with this rezoning to have indoor automotive sales if they so choose. But again, outdoor sales would require a subsequent special use permit. Staff is recommending approval subject to conditions on the rezoning and no conditions on the area plan amendment. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And otherwise, I do believe the applicant is present and let them speak on behalf of their project.
Okay, any questions from the commission to staff?
I had a quick question. So with this one, what is the requirement for kind of car storage? Outdoors, how many? Is it kind of just how many they can fit on the lot? Or is there a specific requirement similar to the one we had last time?
Yeah, so and similarly to that case, we can set limits to that. And, you know, at your discretion, we are happy to add those conditions in. So, you know, at this point, they are looking at limited automotive repair, which would be things like oil changes, tire repair, things like that. There are limitations on outdoor storage, and they have to comply with storage of materials, things like tires and stuff. There are certain standards that are required to be complied with. But as far as limits on what can be sitting outside, since there's no outdoor car sales, they can't have inventory sitting outside. But if you'd like to set a limit on how many cars can be, I guess, waiting for service outside, we can absolutely entertain that.
Is there an actual site plan for this project as part of this middle? Because all I see is the actual landscape plan.
The landscape plan was the plan that was submitted.
So there is no real site plan noting how many spaces that they're going to use for storage of vehicles as well as parking, anything like that. So, okay.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I know it's a different use, but just like looking at the Google images, it's like, it's not super inviting. So I'm just, I'll think about it.
Sure.
Okay.
And it should be noted that was a previous owner, just to be very clear.
Yeah, I'm trying to extrapolate out into other things I've seen and what we should do.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions for staff?
I have a question that's kind of throwing me a little bit, Jamie. You had mentioned that indoor sales are allowed. Indoor sales of what?
Indoor automotive sales. So essentially all inventory would have to be kept inside the building.
Okay, so it's not being able to actually sell vehicles. It's just, okay, accessory items for what he's talking about doing.
No, they could sell vehicles. The vehicles would have to be kept inside the building.
It's a very, very unusual setup. We don't have very many of those. But if you had your showroom and that's all you sold, that's all your inventory was inside the building of your cars for sale, then that would be allowed.
So they could have a car in one of the bays and sell it, because they don't actually have showroom space from the pictures they showed us. So the vehicle would have to be in one of those bays for them to be able to sell an inside sale of a car.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, that's kind of convoluted. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just have a follow-up question. I think, Jamie, you mentioned that there are regulations around like outside storage, like tires. We see that some entities will have the storage of tires built up all behind there. And so I think you already mentioned that. I just want to confirm. And then because it is limited automotive work, there should not be cars that have significant damage sitting on the lot to be fixed, right? Even
That's
though
correct.
they would be selling it. Okay.
Right. Yeah. No body work, no significant engine work to be done with limited auto repair.
Okay, going back to my point, but I guess have you guys like considered like limiting to the number of parking spaces, or like the official parking spaces for the vehicle storage, or temporary vehicle storage. I don't
It's
know.
something that we can consider, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll be quiet and let the owner speak.
Okay.
Jamie, I don't know who's representing the applicant. The applicant on the agenda is not in the meeting, so I'm not
Okay,
sure.
it's James Wright, I believe is his name. Yeah, and it looks like he has his hand up, or did.
Okay, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant, and maybe they can answer some of the questions for us, how this site will be actually used.
Yes, thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and am I sharing my screen here? I have a PowerPoint presentation to address these issues. Are you able to see that?
I do not see your screen, no.
Okay, how do I do that? I think it'll be very helpful. Let's see.
You have a share screen button in the bottom center of Zoom that you can select.
Ah, there it is. Okay. All right, is that showing up now?
Yeah, now we can see it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. My name is James Wright. I'm an attorney and representing Mr. Rod Khalil, who's the owner of his company All About Investments. He's purchased this property at 5030 Blue Ridge Cutoff. And this is the two case numbers here. The quick overview of my presentation will go over our proposed uses, the objectives or the two applications we're seeking approval on, a brief background and history of the property, benefits to the community if the project is approved, support from the community, and finally the rationale for amending the area plan. Our proposed use are an automobile quick lube shop and a minor repair shop. We're talking oil changes, brake service, filters, wiper blades, coolant flushes, fluid top-offs, and some minor maintenance items like replacement of spark plugs, wires, timing belts. There'll be no general major repairs, no engine head removal, no removal or repair work to the transmission or differential, no body work or painting. Limited used car auto sales, indoor sales only. We're talking maybe one or two cars, if at all. My client does use an auction that he'll maybe buy a car at a good deal and be able to sell it. And as far as the restricted uses and future contingent uses, we're pledging there's no outdoor vehicle storage that's anything long-term, no unsightly cars or cars placed on blocks. There'll be no tires, debris, or automotive parts stored outside. And then limited outdoor sales of 10 to 15 cars maximum, or general auto repairs would be reserved for possible future use, not right away, and only after we consult with the Eastwood Hills Neighborhood Association to receive their support. After we install additional outdoor fencing, lighting, security to prevent theft and vandalism, and of course, applying for and receiving a special use permit from the city of Kansas City. But again, we're not addressing those potential future uses at this point. The first objective, of course, is to change the zoning from B1 to B3. You know, the primary purpose of B1 is to accommodate small scale retail. It's intended to apply in compact nodes and not along multi-lane major streets. And an automobile and limited repair shop is not permitted for B1. Primary purpose of B3, of course, is to a more broad range of service, and it's intended to apply to large sites that have primary access to major streets. And there's references to the zoning code. The auto lube and limited repair shop is a permitted use for B3 zoning, which is why we're seeking that. The property abuts two major lane streets, Blue Ridge Cutoff and Snibar Road. And based on the property's character and layout, the design of its structures, its location and historical use, the obvious optimal and best use of the property is for auto service and repair. And our second objective or application seeking approvals to amend the area plan because it only authorizes mixed neighborhood use for the subject property. Here's table 120-1, just the part that's relevant. Here's the B3 zoning. And as you can see, indoor light sales and limited vehicle repair are both permitted uses under the code. Former uses, it was an Amoco oil, gas, and service station. Zoning was approved back in '66. Then it was used as a furniture and used auto retail or used appliances retail shop. There was a complaint filed on Compass KC, a citizen reporting the used appliance store has been filled with U-Haul and other junk. The property looks like a junkyard. And then, of course, it's been vacant for several years, and there have been numerous complaints registered by the area residents, and these are all documented on Compass KC. Renovations and remediation, the underground storage tanks were remediated. We have a clearance letter from the environmental agency, and the renovations that have been done by Mr. Khalil, the applicant, he's cleaned up all the trash and debris. He's repainted the structure, repaved the lot. He's installed some new fence and security cameras. And according to the landscaping and lighting plans, there's going to be new trees to be planted and new lighting to be installed. This is the environmental clearance letter regarding the underground storage tanks. There was no additional remedial action is needed. This is a landscaping architectural site plan showing the lighting here and the existence of trees and other things. Here's the lighting plan specifically showing where additional lights will be installed. Some pictures before and after. This is a view from Blue Ridge Cutoff facing west toward the building. As you can see, the parking lot was in major disrepair and it's been remodeled here. The building has been painted a red, which matches the neighboring Phillips 66 and gas stop. It looks really nice. Here's another view facing south. You can see the Dollar General there across Narborough Road. This is the pavement as it was before. You can see how it's been beautifully remodeled here now. The benefits to the community, there's four main benefits. The cleanup and renovations, of course, have improved the aesthetics and curb appeal. Repainting, repaving, new fencing, and of course the new trees to be installed. And I do note on Compass KC, numerous complaints were filed by area residents or the previous owners for graffiti, peeling paint, gutters falling off the building being in total disrepair, one complaint said. And then during the last few years, while the property was vacant, the more recent complaints have included trash, dead animals, dumping, overgrown grass, brush, weeds, trees needing trimming. I mean, the list goes on. The renovation of the property will reduce crime, theft, vandalism, and loitering. These were concerns raised by the members of the Eastwood Hill Neighborhood Association that we met with. A vacant property invites these problems. We have security cameras installed and new lighting is planned. Of course, this will increase the value of area properties to have this renovation and have an active use as opposed to a vacancy. It provides a needed service to the members of the community. According to the Blue Ridge Area Plan, the area demographics reveal lower median income and housing than the city at large. And that suggests residents likely drive older cars that are in need of service. There's no similar shop in the area. The only nearby repair shops are in Raytown. There's Steve's Auto Service and Henry's Auto Service, approximately 2 miles away, but neither are quick lube shops. And the closest repair in Kansas City is nearly 7 miles away. And it will provide limited employment to area residents. Mr. Khalil's already received 2 applications for employment from members of the community there, and he intends to hire from the local community. Here's a quick map of the land use map showing the existing businesses and apartments and residences. Blue Ridge Cutoff, Narborough Road. This is the proposed auto lube shop right here at the corner. Right above this is a Phillips 66 fast stop, and then a charter funeral home. Across the street, we have Dollar General, a shopping center and barber shop, and a church here and a church here. And then Byram's Ford Road runs parallel 1 street to the west of Blue Ridge Cutoff, and there's some apartments here and some residences going forward. And then there's a Knights of Columbus on this corner here, and this section up here on the northeast corner, it is completely vacant. It's overgrown with a lot of trees. Support from the community, very briefly, the Eastwood Hills Neighborhood Association. We have a letter of support from Gail Burris, the director. Charter Funeral Home, we have an enthusiastic letter of support. New Landmark Church and Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church, we have their support. 1 or more of these people may actually be here to voice their support. And we have support of the owner of the Phillips 66 and Fast Stop, Badbir Sultan, and of course the lessee who operates the business there, Cameron Zahid. And as far as the area residents within 300 feet of the property, we've sent the letters out as required. We've received no opposition, and there's screening in place that I'll show pictures of. This is the letter from Gail Burris of the Eastwood Hills Community Association. She basically says the association supports the change in zoning and the updating of the area plan. We support the change from B1 to B3 for the property, and we appreciate the cleanup and work that Mr. Khalil has already done, and we look forward to working with him in the future. This letter of support from Charter Funerals is indicative of the really enthusiastic support that we've received. I'm writing to express our support for the proposed rezoning of the property. It is our opinion that proposed development, along with the renovation and cleanup that such a development would entail, would be an excellent match for the growing commercial nature of the area. The use plan for this site is a dramatic improvement over the previous tenant that occupied the space. The cleanup and the resulting street appeal of the site that have already been made are a huge improvement to the area. It will be of tremendous benefit to residential and commercial property owners alike. This is the sentiment that we've received orally from the other business owners as well. This is residential screening, a few photos here to show you what we've done to protect the residences from the view. Actually, not what we've done, but this part has already been in place. This is a view from the southeast corner of the intersection here. This is Blue Ridge Cutoff and this is Snyder Bar Road. So we're looking west and you see how tall those trees are. Here's another view here behind the property to show the there's sort of a sloped topography there with tall trees. On the other side, on the north side of the property, you can see the height of the trees. We've installed a new fence along there. This view shows a guardrail that also protects people from falling down the slope. And then here's that Byram's Ford Road, the street that's one street west of Blue Ridge Cutoff running parallel. And that's where the apartments are on the corner of Snyabar and Byram's Ford. And then further north, there is some housing. As you can see, there's already a very tall wooden fence here to protect those apartments. So that's another barrier, plus grass and then a road. And then here's that same road. And then you see just how tall these trees are. And you can barely make out down here a little bit of the hint of red, which is the subject property, but it's mostly screened and not visible. The goals for the Blue Ridge Area Plan were to promote livable, sustainable, connected, and thriving neighborhoods. And an argument can be made that our renovation and turning this into the use that we're seeking would achieve these four goals. Clean, well-maintained, livable, areas with needed services. We're providing a needed service for the those that have used cars that are in need of service. Economically, environmentally healthy and growing. We are providing a few jobs. Improve mobility and transportation, while certainly servicing automobiles helps with those connections. And also, of course, the landscaping plan is going to indicate some long and short-term bicycle parking, and there'll be pedestrian walks, crosswalks. And then development along image streets. It's important to note that the plan specifically talks about image streets, and Blue Ridge Cutoff is designated as an image street, something that would give the image of beauty to the city. And so they want to promote developments which enhance the appearance of the corridor with visually appealing aesthetics and are safe for pedestrians and provide attractive amenities such as lighting and trees and signage. Now, the area plan does promote mixed use development over single use development, and it is particularly recommended for the area in which the subject property exists, which is why we need to change. But the property is located along an image street and exists among other commercial uses. Its look and character and location is optimally suited for commercial automotive, sufficiently screened from nearby residential properties with fencing, landscaping, elevated topography, a guardrail, and tall trees, which we just saw pictures of. Here's the land use map, from the area plan. And as you can see, this red and white bar, sort of candy cane striped on the legend here, applies to the subject property, which is hard to see, but this is Blue Ridge Cutoff and this is Snyabar. And here's a more blown up view of that. And the subject property is this little red triangle right here at that intersection. So it's clearly marked as a mixed use currently. And then here to show that Blue Ridge Cutoff here, and here's Snyabar, is an image street. This is directly from the plan. Primary image streets are located here with a broad orange indication, and you see that there. That's clearly an image street for the city. So in conclusion, I would like to ask that the property would be rezoned from B1-1 to B3-1 for these reasons. Its historical use is an auto service station, previously zoned for commercial use. Its design, look, structure, and location favor commercial automobile use. There are several benefits to the community. Cleanup and remodeling enhances the aesthetics, curb appeal, and property values. The active use with lighting and security reduces crime, vandalism, and loitering. Provides a needed service to the community, which is heavily reliant on used cars for transportation. And it will provide a few new jobs to area residents. We also have very enthusiastic support from the business community in the immediate area. It will drive more traffic to have this business, which will help the existing businesses. And we have the support of the neighborhood association, and no residential opposition was received. And lastly, the Blue Ridge plan should be amended to allow for the proposed commercial use because mixed neighborhood use is not suitable for the subject property. Mixed neighborhood use, as you all know, would be a two-story use where commercial, or sorry, a business of some sort of neighborhood business use would be on the first level, and then on the second level would be a residential use. That's not suitable for this property. And because it abuts an image street, the new renovations, they enhance the aesthetics of the area, they complement existing businesses, and they actually promote the goals of the area plan. So we're asking to vote yes on rezoning and amending the area plan. But before doing that, I would like to answer any questions and then allow Mr. Khalil himself, the owner, to have a few things to say.
I had a quick question. How many cars would you estimate would be on the property at any one time?
Yeah, so with a Jiffy Lube or a Quick Lube type shop, most cars are going to be there without being left there. They may leave and go to the fast stop for a snack and come back while it's getting an oil change or something like that. I don't see, there's not going to be any long-term storage. So I can let the owner speak to how many cars he might think possibly could be parked on a given day. But there is a potential desire in the future to maybe have a little more general automotive, but he doesn't want to do that now, and he knows that we'll need a special use permit to achieve that. And if that would be the case, then we would definitely put together a plan and put together how many cars might be outdoors. We talked to Gail Burris of the Eastwood Hills Association, and they would be supportive if there was like additional, fencing that would protect those cars. Not just from view, but to protect vandalism and people walking around trying to steal something from cars. And so more things would be done, but I don't think at this point there's any plan to have any significant amount of cars on the property. Certainly not in that photo that Ms. Hickey presented. It wouldn't look anything like that.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions from the commission to the applicant?
I had a question about the existing canopy, how you would use that, and from the existing condition or the conditions that you see, at least in Google Street View, there's a lot of cars parked under that. How would you utilize that canopy?
I would ask Mr. Khalil if he could answer that, as I'm not exactly sure. He should be here.
I think he just raised his hand.
He has been promoted. He should be able to speak.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Rod Khalil. Do you want me to answer the question first, or you want me to tell you something about me, or?
It's up to you. If we just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and answer the questions, please.
In the beginning, I want to just thank Jamie Hickey, because she's been so patient, and she showed me the headlines, how I can just go through this. I've been in business for like 20 years, and I have other businesses, other locations, and I would like you guys to look at these pictures, if I can just show it to you, just to show you what kind of businesses I run, for that 20 years. This is one shop in Independence. It's always like this. And this is another one, and third one, and this is another one in Raytown area. First, I want to just tell Mr. James Baker about parking cars outside. I usually don't park any cars outside. It's a lot of liability to leave cars outside, to be honest with you. I mean, my insurance will be up. So I don't keep any cars outside. I usually keep them inside if I want to keep something overnight. I don't keep anything outside. Usually when it's a light, oil changes or lube or something like this. So it's an in and out process. For the canopy, if the canopy just anybody complain about it, I would just remove it. But it's a what do you call it, umbrella. I can just like maybe put some cars in the summertime if it's really hot underneath it, for customers not to, just to get their cars, in the end of the day or something, not to get it like hot or something like this. But if this is something you guys suggest to remove, I have no problem. I can remove it, no problems. But it's got lights, it's got a lot of things. I can just use it to improve the overall appearance. If I don't want to add a lot of stuff, Mr. James, I think he said everything, but I want to say something. This location, when I saw it first time, I studied it. There is no other shops around. And like 2 weeks ago when it was freezing, I was there just to make sure my heater works and my piping. 3-4 customers stopped. They want a service because they have antifreeze leaks, heater not working, overheated. And I told them, I'm sorry, I'm not in business yet, but hopefully soon I will. And I will serve you guys. I feel this is very important location for the community, for the neighborhood. And when I got inside the shop, everything's set up for an auto service. The greaser, it's still on the ceiling. All the air pipes, it's in the walls, and it's ready. It's used to be for that reason. Just they built it for that purpose. So I'm not big changing like from restaurant to an automotive, use. No, I'm getting into life to live again, and it will be a nice and clean. You would not believe how much trash I got out of that facility when I got it first time. There is another thing I want to tell you guys. Maybe it's not very important for what we have to say here. My other businesses and this business, I usually connect them to the community, to the church. I sponsor, teams in the school. I like, to show my kids how they can participate with the community, how they can help. And this area, it's a middle class and lower, and maybe they need somebody to sponsor them and be with them. And I told Miss Gail, the association lady, I told her, just please, if you want to, every time you guys have a meeting, to inform me, and I'll be there. If I can help, I will help. This is something maybe you guys don't care about, but I care about personally. If there is any other questions or any suggestions, I am very happy to do it, guys. It's in the end, it's my property, and I want to improve it. I wanted to have like the best one in the area, and it will be like a chain reaction. The time I was cleaning this facility, a lot of my neighbors, they inspired with it. They came and they start talking to these people working there. They want to do the same what I'm doing. So when it's nice and clean building, my neighbors, they will start, doing like me. And I think this is a big improvement for the area. If this is stay like it was before, not clean, trashed, my neighbor, the Phillips gas station, he used to open 24 hours and he went to 12 hours. Now he's going to 6 hours because he's telling me in this haunted building, I don't know what's going to come out of it. I am very happy you cleaned it, you put lights, you put cameras. At least, I feel secured when I am in my business. And if you guys have any suggestion or any questions, I'm here. I will answer.
Thank you.
I guess I was encouraged by the the improvements you made. I think one of the challenges with the rezoning is that it stays with the property. And so it won't come back to us. And so I guess, and part of the issue that we deal with a lot is like you said, short-term or even long-term appearances of these car repair shops. So I guess I was wondering if you would be okay with a condition that says you can only park cars in designated parking spots or under the canopy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
I think
James, you're not gonna see cars there, man.
I know, but what I'm saying though is I think so. This may not be your plan, but in the long term, if you potentially say, "Oh, I'm going to sell it to another operator," if we don't have those conditions, sometimes they don't have to come back to us, and then it could be a bad situation. So I understand that you're not going to park cars out there long term, but I think it would be a good protection for the neighborhood to have.
Can I tell you something?
Sure.
I love Kansas City. I try to live in a lot of cities around, and Kansas City, it's a city, it makes sense for me. So I'm gonna live all my life. I'm not gonna sell it for anybody. I mean, these shops, it's my life. I'm not gonna give it for anybody. But if like you said, if I die, maybe my kids will sell it for somebody. You are absolutely right. But for me, I'm not gonna sell it, and it's gonna be for a long time there.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Any other questions from the commission to the applicant? So let's go ahead, Joe, and open it up for any public testimony.
Hey, I promoted Jason Meyer, who might be on the applicant team, and Harriet.
Yep, thank you very much. I am the landscape architect on the team, and I just wanted to address that on my site plan. I know we didn't actually have a site plan, but I did actually show parking stalls on that I put in there, and they are to city specs. They're 9 by 18, and I have 24-foot lanes between them, and so it does work, as a site plan, if you will. But if you had any other questions of me, that's all I just wanted to say.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I've also promoted someone named Harriet.
Okay. Hi, Harriet, if you can state your name and address for the record, please. You just went on mute.
There are other people I can promote, and we can see if she can get unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go. Yes, we can.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Yes.
I live at 5030 Byron Ford Road. And I was on here several times before. Each time there was a meeting, but it's been canceled or postponed. But the point is, I live behind that service station. He showed, the attorney showed pictures where the apartment is, that new fencing, that's for handicapped people living there. My house is right next to it. But across the street from me, which the attorney showed trees and all, had he brought you a close-up, you would have seen all types of trash down on the street level and tires. I think because I saw one tire, he mentioned that guardrail there, but there are tires they throw up in the guardrail constantly. I'm always calling the city about tires pickup. As a matter of fact, when I get off the phone with you, I'm calling the city again because there's a tire right on and I understand all that property is his because I called and asked who the property belonged to. They said it belonged to the person that owned that service station. When Amico's service station was there, we had no problems at all. But the last automotive place that was there, it was an eyesore to the community. And I was constantly calling about tires being thrown out across the street from where I live. The last time I called, well, when they left, I called about 15 or 20 tires were thrown across the street there. Now, when he came in, this gentleman here came in, I'm not saying it was him, but it's a coincidence that when he cleaned the place out, I called about 6 tires were thrown across the street there. So, and there's one over there now. As you come up around the corner on Byron's Ford Road, there's a tire right there. But all in that area by the trees, and when they block that now closed off. Those people coming up from there, which were not coming up from there before, they are constantly throwing trash over in the tree area. And I'm constantly have to go over there and clean it out. And so therefore, I'm not in approval of automotive business being there. And there's not a space for 10 to 15 cars.
Okay. Thank you.
As the lady said, there are only 2
Can I
stalls
answer?
in that building.
No.
Beg your pardon?
Can I say something?
No, not yet. Let me go ahead and get through all the public comment first, and then you can address all the comments at one time after we're done with that. Okay.
Mr. Chair, yeah,
yes.
I promoted an additional person, Harrison James.
Okay. Mr. James, if you can state
Good
your
morning.
name
How
and
you guys?
address for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Harrison James, 8701 Snabar. Belong to Landmark Worship Center across the street from the behind Dollar General. And I just want to kind of echo some of the complaints. Well, some of the issues. That site was a dumpster site. People would come and just dump trash there. The residents that had it beforehand just didn't keep it up to par, and it was an eyesore. And so I will say that the gentleman that is proposing to put something there now, he's cleaned that site up pretty well. And if nothing is there at all, it will continue to be a dumpster site where people would just come and drop cars and trash and tires and everything else there. And it is designed for a auto shop to be there, unless it's just tore down and made as just a regular lot. And so I say that we are in agreement with putting something there to keep it not looking like an eyesore to the rest of the community.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, the next person is Jimmy Radovich.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh gosh, sorry, there's a background on. That's terrible. Instead of wasting any time turning that off, I'm just going to go ahead and go. My name is Jimmy Radovich, representing Charter Funerals. We're to the north, 2 doors up. We have sent you all a letter of our enthusiastic support of this rezoning. Like the last gentleman just said, the trash cleanup has already been remarkable that the new owner has done there in cleaning up the corner. We are no longer embarrassed to drive families in procession by that corner as we have been for years. It is a much needed improvement to the area, and I think he will do a remarkable job keeping the area clean. And I know he's committed to having the building look nice. And I do think he would clean up the area behind his building where the lady has the issue where people illegally dump tires. That dumping is not from his site. That's from people in the community that dump in that area. So he'll bear the same issues we have with cleaning up that trash, but he's done a remarkable job already. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else, Joe?
Yes, one other. Harriet's raised her hand again. Would you like me to promote her back over or not?
Sure. Hi, Harriet. You're still on mute. If you can take yourself off mute, please. Still on mute.
Okay, can you?
Yeah, you're kind of cutting in and out. I mean, you were just off mute there for a second and
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My only concern, like I said, those places don't live across the street. They're up the street from him. And Landmark is on Snowboard, up the street. I'm right across the street from his building behind where the trees are, where they throw all the trash. And I have never seen 15 to 20 tires ever thrown there until the last automotive man was there. Now, when they cleaned that place out, I found 6 tires thrown up on that hill behind his building, up in those trees. And there are tires up in the trees. The city say they will not go up in those trees to get the tires. So there are tires right there now, 2 or 3 tires up on that railing, still there, because the city say they will not go up in the trees to get the tires. That's my only complaint.
Okay.
Because I don't mind picking up the paper cups and all of that.
Okay. Thank you.
I shouldn't have to pick up the paper cups because that's public property.
Okay, Joe, is anybody else that's raised their hand on this case?
Another one who's already spoken, Harrison James.
Okay. Is he available? Looks like, there you go, Mr. James.
All right, this is the last thing I have to say. I do understand the frustration of the last person that just spoke. I think everybody in that surrounding area bears the same complaint about trash being dumped on the property. I mean, we clean up trash from our church property almost every single day. Our dumpsters have been, from the community is using our trash dumpsters. And so we've made several different complaints about it on our end. So I do understand the young lady's frustration, but I will just say that if nothing is there, it will continue to be a dump, a site, a eyesore, and people will just continue to use it as a trash dumpster site. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else, Joe?
That's it.
Okay. So go ahead and close public testimony. So applicant, if you'd like to speak about the concern that one of the neighbors had, or if there's anything else you'd like to state on this case?
Just one thing. When I'm gonna be there every day, I'm not gonna allow that trash to be there. I mean, if somebody come in and just dump a couple tires in your backyard, I mean, you can't see it. I mean, they can't blame you for that. I mean, the tires coming from top of the hill, I mean, to my shop. So it's not me going in that street and dumping these tires. But I promise you, it will be a nice and clean, and I'm not gonna allow, just something like this to happen. And if somebody dump a tires, believe it or not, I am the first one who's gonna just pick it up and take it out of there. I'm not gonna leave it there. And I can't tell you what's the future, but just, when I am there, Miss Harriet, you will see me. I mean, and you will learn that I am nice, clean businessman. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and close all testimony at this time. If there's anything the commission would like to talk about, or entertain a motion.
I just want to say I think this is actually I've learned that these are the more contentious cases that we see, but I think this is an appropriate location. I'm encouraged by the improvements. I do want to offer an additional condition to state that all cars should be parked in designated parking spots or underneath the canopy, because I think that will give us some protection in the neighborhood, some protection for how the site looks with vehicles. So if anyone has any concerns about that, but I think I agree with staff and think it's a good project.
Okay. You want to go ahead and make a motion unless anybody else has something to say?
Okay. I move to approve case number 5 and 5.2 with conditions, and or case 5.1 with conditions, and adding the condition that all vehicles must be parked, all outside vehicles must be parked in designated parking spots or underneath the canopy. And then approving case 5.2 without conditions.
Okay, so I've got a motion.
Second.
Are the conditions with, I think aren't the conditions with 5.2 the development plan?
That's the area amendment plan, right?
Conditions should go with the rezoning, not the area plan amendment.
Oh, you don't have a development plan? Is that the issue?
That's correct.
But you're having, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
These conditions being added by the CPC, or were they recommended by staff, Jamie? Because it's unusual to condition a rezoning.
Unusual to have conditions with a rezoning. Yeah, that's what I'm.
There are some from staff, and then the commission is also requesting a new condition.
Yeah, currently there's 7 conditions as from staff, and we're adding condition number 8. Okay, did I have a motion? Did I have a second?
Second here.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second. Lisa, do you mind taking roll call, please, on this?
Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Prowl,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, so the motion carries. Looks like so the project's been approved to the next step. Thanks for coming in, and good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so looks like we're now to, we want to go back. Joe, is anybody available for docket item number 4?
I believe Chris has stated that his applicant is available now.
Okay, let's go ahead with docket item number 4. It's already been opened up, so we'll just go ahead with the presentation from staff.
Good morning, everyone. Let me share my screen here momentarily. The applicant is David Lopez, which I believe is in the attendees list here. Get my slideshow.
Chris, I don't see anyone by that name. Oh, he just jumped in.
All right, good. Good morning, everyone. Christopher Huey, staff planner, City Planning Development Department. Before us, we have a special use permit request for automotive sales as an accessory use located at 8100 US 40 Highway. Property is currently zoned M1-5. Essentially, the applicant is seeking approval of a special use permit for what the city's code refers to as a light equipment sales and rental outdoor, which applies to automotive vehicle sales. They did complete the necessary public engagement requirements, summary of which is attached in the staff letter dated, from February 2nd. The general location of the city, kind of the central east side of KCMO. Here is the site in question specifically. It's at the northwest corner of US 40 Highway and 435 Highway. So the key points of this particular case, this is an existing roofing company. This vehicle sales use will be accessory to that business, more of a secondary business and not to be considered primary use of the property by any means. There is a associated variance aspect for this particular special use permit case. That's more to bring it to your knowledge. The variance component will be handled more by the BZA, but just to kind of clarify the elements in the staff report. The proposal is for 4 to 5 vehicles for sale at any one time, parked on the property along the frontage road that faces onto US 40 Highway to the south. we as staff have looked at this particular use and do find that it is a more heavily traveled commercial corridor and that a vehicle sales, especially as accessory use, is appropriate. However, with special use permits, we do ask that certain site conditions be brought to code to the amount as practical. Some of the conditions, as you see in the staff letter, are to add screening shrubbery along the south property line to screen the parking lot area, and some vegetation, predominantly trees along the east property line to kind of screen it from 435 highway. Given the kind of time of year, staff is recommending that these be installed no later than June 1st of 2021 to give the applicant some time to actually acquire and plant the material, and also to ensure its survivability by planting in more of a hospitable planting season. Just for brief discussion purposes only, again, this will be by the BZA. There is a code section that stipulates retail sales have to be set back 20 feet from the from any property line. Given the site, its existing parking lot, the applicant's requesting that they be allowed to store the vehicles along the front property line at the front property line. Again, this will be more heavily discussed at the future BZA hearing. So staff, with this, staff does recommend approval of the use. We do have I pulled a few of the conditions, not all of the conditions that are more specific to this particular use from the staff letter, just to highlight them for discussion purposes. One, that trees be added along the east property line to screen it from, I think there's a mistake, I-70, it should be 435 highway. Vehicles shall be stored in an organized manner and not displayed in any grass area or within the public right of way. Parking lot screen shrubs and other features shall be installed by June 1st, 2021 per the city's zoning development code. Cited the code section there just to for ease of reference. Staff recommends that this special use permit be approved for a period of 5 years, and that the vehicle sales be limited to 5 vehicles for sale and on display at any one time. The applicant does state 4 on display, and with the possibility of 4 to 5 being sold over the course of a month. Just for a little bit of buffer room, staff recommend just kind of even 5 to kind of make it easy and enforceable for staff and for the applicant to have some flexibility. So with that, we conclude my presentation. Turn to the applicant for any additional comments or the commission for any questions.
So this is really, the application is to sell sell cars, and where the special use permit limits the cars to 5 along the front or along the road, correct?
Correct. Yeah, 5 stored on site at any one time.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the commission? Okay, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Hey David, look, do I have video on or off, or what do you prefer there?
Of course, I'd love to see you.
Oh, great. Give me just a moment.
You got to look at me, so I'd like to see you, you know?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
David Lopez here. I'm the proposed applicant for this business. So how's everyone doing today? Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Good. Anything you'd like to talk a little bit about your business, what you intend to do there?
Like Chris said, right now I own a roofing and restoration business. That's our primary office or building there right now. The goal was with starting a auto sales business was we have a lot of company vehicles too. So it would be, for one, it'd be a way for me to save some money throughout the year by purchasing vehicles direct through the wholesalers, but also at the same time, I figured to make some money by doing starting my business there and selling cars there off the lot. So it's going to be just a small ordeal. Typically 4 to 5 vehicles a month is the goal. With the way things are these day and times, a lot of internet sales will be done. So really wouldn't need a lot of lot space anyways. Most of my deals can be done online. I just have to make sure I believe per the dealership laws, whatever the case may be, the transactions have to be done on site. So pretty simple though, nothing crazy to it. Just want to start a dealership to sell some vehicles there. So.
Okay. All right. So any questions from the commission to the applicant? Okay. Joe, let's open it up for public testimony, if you don't mind.
I don't see anyone raising their hand as of this time.
All right, we'll give it a second here. Okay, well, let's go ahead and close public testimony then. Is there anything else you'd like to state, Mr. Lopez?
No, I think that's it, guys. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right, so at this time, we'll go ahead and close testimony and talk amongst the commissioners. And if there's no discussion, I'll take a motion.
I'll move the approval.
Okay. So I got a motion to approve docket item number 4 with conditions stated.
I'll second.
All right, so I got a motion and a second. Lisa, do you mind taking roll call, please, on this motion?
Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like motion passes 7-0. Appreciate you coming in and good luck with your project.
Hey, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too. Up to docket item number 9.
Right. We have 2 cases here. Docket item 9.1. This case number CPC 2020-00193. This is a request to approve a rezoning from District R7.5 to District B1-1 on about 3 acres located at 13212 Holmes Road for a new retail development known as Holmes Road Retail. Docket item 9.2 is a request for a development plan on the same property. Zach Nelson is the staff planner.
Good afternoon, or good morning rather, Zach Nelson, City Planning staff. So before you are 2 companion cases for a rezoning from R7.5 to B1 and a development plan, which also serves as a preliminary plat for a new retail and commercial strip center. So this is located down south within the Martin City area. Just for some context, this is generally in between Blue Ridge Boulevard to the north and 135th Street to the south. So if we zoom in a little bit further, this is on the west side of Holmes Road, and the site is primarily undeveloped today, although there is a single family home on the northernmost lot. There's Martin City Coffee across Holmes Road to the east, and then there's several commercial and industrial uses throughout the rest of the site or adjacent. And then to the west, there's single family residential, which is what this is currently zoned. So this doesn't include an area plan amendment because the area plan already recommends commercial uses at this location. So this is looking generally west at the site. Again, undeveloped primarily. Holmes Road along this stretch is undeveloped or unimproved. And then this home on the left side of the screen here is the single family home that's the northern extent of the site. So the applicant has proposed constructing approximately a 25,000 square foot commercial and retail building. It will have 2 curb cuts providing access, one at the top here, and then one kind of at the south portion of the site. It'll have parking on all sides of the building. In terms of parking, 62 spaces are required and 95 spaces are provided. And then I think in total, there will be, a total of 14 tenants that will be, that will accommodate trash enclosure at the rear. And then the site plan also shows a new sidewalk to be constructed along the entirety of the frontage of the site as well. And then I don't think you can see it very well, but staff has also requested that a future curb cut be provided on that north property line here. And the reason for that is that O'Reilly's a little bit further to the north also has that. So if that other single family residence is ever purchased and redeveloped, the intent is to kind of connect these commercial properties off of Holmes Road. So in terms of landscaping, the site will be heavily landscaped, a lot of visual buffering and street trees, and then also buffering and street trees at the rear as well. all of the trash enclosures will be buffered as well. So this complies fully with the landscape requirements of the code. And then in terms of architecture, the building will be primarily stone veneer with a stucco finish. It'll have aluminum storefronts, canvas awnings, and a flat roof. So it'll largely match the character of the area in terms of architecture. So overall, staff is supportive of both of these requests and recommends approval of the rezoning without conditions. And then staff recommends approval subject to 31 conditions and corrections in the staff report. And that concludes my presentation.
And Zach, if I'm reading it correctly, they did not include bike parking, but that's a condition, correct?
Yes, that is a condition. No bike parking, to the best of my knowledge, was provided, but it is required.
Okay.
In the Zach, just checking in the site plan, it kind of appears that the north end and the south end may have drive-throughs. Are those anticipated as part of this project?
I don't believe they're drive-throughs. To the best of my knowledge, I wasn't made aware that they are drive-throughs. I think the applicant could probably speak to that.
Okay. All right, any other questions from the commission to staff? And Zach, if you don't mind taking your, there we go.
Sure.
Okay, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant then.
It should be Jeff Schroeder. I think he's raising his hand.
Okay.
He's promoted.
Mr. Schroeder, as you take your self off of mute, please state your name and address for the record.
Okay, that work?
Yep, there you go.
All right. My name's Jeff Schrader. I'm with Sharhaig Architects here, Kansas City, Missouri, here representing the applicant on this project. Briefly, I guess I'll address a couple of the items that were brought up and where we're at with the project. Our client owns the two properties directly on the east side of Holmes, across the street from this, the Martin City Coffee Shop and Rick's Burgers. So he's done development in the area. And I think we've got good support from the area. I met with the Center Planning and Development Council, and they were fully in favor, no objections. Carol Witterode had sent an email to Zach, basically stating that. I also met with the Martin City CID, and they seem fully behind this. Vicki Wolcast with Martin City CID offered to write a letter, but I said just having their backing I thought was enough. We held a neighborhood meeting across the street, just slightly northeast at the sand volleyball facility. Howard Bearwin there allowed us to use his large lobby for the neighborhood meeting, and he was one of the neighbors notified by mail. He was there since he allowed us to use the building, but we had no other attendees at that meeting. We waited for 20 minutes and then closed the meeting, so I had no one show up there. Our client tried to purchase the last remaining residential lot that is between this and O'Reilly Auto Parts, but the owner did not want to sell. They could not come to agreement. He was originally going to purchase that as part of this entire development, but was unable to. We are okay with all 31 conditions, including the bike parking. We had made a resubmittal to staff, which I think, according to the staff report, I think they felt too that addressed about 3/4 of those items, but we intend to comply with all of the conditions and are agreeable to those. We are planning no drive-throughs here. The bump out shown on the building, we were trying to get some more architectural interest on the ends of the building, because you'll see those coming up and down Holmes along with the front. And unfortunately, our civil engineer even thought that that's maybe what those were going to be, and they jogged the curb there. But we're going to straighten that curb out on both the north and south sides of the building, and don't intend to have any drive-throughs as part of this project.
Okay.
And I guess that concludes my presentation, but I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the commission to the applicant?
Yeah, do you know what retail tenants you're thinking of? Do you have anyone that's kind of committed or ideas in mind?
Unfortunately for the owner at this point, we have no committals on tenants, so we don't know any. I think he's hoping to get what you typically see in a center like this, maybe a restaurant or two, maybe some retail, maybe even small, an office here or there, insurance office, something like that. There are 14 possible individual bays with entrances and rear doors, the way we've laid out the building footprint, but I fully believe that there won't be 14 tenants, and probably more like 8 to 10, maybe, as some tenants will take multiple bays for more square footage, but we do not know any tenants at this time.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony.
Mr. Chairman, no one's raising their hand.
Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony. Anything else you'd like to say, Mr. Schrader, before we go to just a commission?
No, other than be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no discussion, or if there is a discussion amongst the commissioners, let's do that. If not, I'll take a motion, please.
Go ahead.
I will move to approve 9.1 without conditions and 9.2 with conditions.
31 conditions, okay.
31 conditions.
Yep, so I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so I got a motion and a second. Lisa, will you take roll call, please, on that motion?
Yes. Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like motion passes for approval of the project. Thank you for bringing it in. It looks like a great one for the area, and good luck.
Thanks, and I would like to just thank Zach for all his help during this. He's been very responsive, very helpful, so appreciated working with him.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's go ahead and move on to docket item number 10.1 and 10.2. Everybody doing okay? Do we need to take a little break or keep going? Keep going, okay.
Docket item 10 is two companion cases, starting with 10.1, case CPC 2020-00177, a request to amend the greater downtown area plan to change the recommended land use from residential low to residential medium on half an acre located at 2029 Summit Street. In docket item 10.2, case number CPC 2020-00157, request to approve a rezoning from District R6 to District R2.5 at the same location. Zach Nelson is a staff planner.
Thank you. These next two companion cases, as Joe mentioned, are an area plan amendment and a rezoning. However, the applicant is requesting to instead rezone to R5 instead of R2.5. I believe that's what's shown previously, and that's why it was continued previously as well. Just want to point that out. So this is located in the West Side neighborhood. A little more specifically, there's currently a single family home located on the subject site. This is on the east side of Summit Road. So a little bit of context, I-35 is a couple blocks to the east, and then West Penway's to the south here. So this neighborhood kind of has a mixture of zoning. There's a lot of R2.5 and then there is some R6 as well. The site is currently zoned R6, and the applicant has stated that they intend to build a second home on the property to the south of the one that's currently shown here. And based on the current zoning, that's not possible, specifically due to the lot and building standards. So in terms of the area plan amendment, the greater downtown area plan recommends residential low. The applicant is requesting to amend the area plan to residential medium uses. And then the rezoning from R6 to R5 would essentially allow for the new single family home. And I'll describe the specific lot and building standard that changes to allow this in a second. So this is looking east at the property. This is the single family home that exists on the site. And as you can see, this is undeveloped currently. So the site plan shows a new proposed home to the south with 2 covered porches in the front and the rear, and then a detached garage to the rear of the home. And so as you can see that the lot proposed width is 45.94 feet. And so the proposed R5 zoning requires a minimum of 45 feet of lot width, whereas the R6 zoning, I think it requires a minimum of 50 feet of lot width. So that's really the main reason for this rezoning, is just to allow for the new home based on the lot width. So pretty straightforward, as you can see. And then the applicant has also provided some elevations as well. So this is the front elevation. It'll largely match the architectural style of the neighborhood. And then here are some other elevations of the rear side of the building, and then the detached garage as well. So overall, staff is very supportive of this. It recommends approval without conditions for both requests. And I also wanted to mention, I just wanted to make a side note. I think the applicant had previously stated that they were misinformed by staff due to the R2.5 zoning suggestion by staff. I just wanted to state that at the time of the pre-application meeting, staff recommended R2.5 because it allowed for this construction of this home, and it also largely matched the zoning of the neighborhood for R2.5. The adjacent property to the south is zoned R2.5, and staff has many pre-application meetings every week. And so I just tried to describe at the last meeting the best that I recalled regarding what I had spoken about with the applicant in that pre-application meeting. And so to the best of my recollection, I recommended R2.5 at that time because of the adjacent zoning, and it also allowed for the home. So I just wanted to point that out as well. So again, staff is supportive of both requests and recommends approval without conditions. And I can answer any questions you might have.
Okay, any questions from the commission to staff?
I have a question, Zach, about, so have they split the lot already between the north house and this? Has it been replatted?
They haven't yet. There's actually 4 lots within that subject site. I apologize, I didn't add the lot lines layer. So they will actually need to do a lot consolidation because there's a lot line that goes right through the proposed home that they're proposing. So
okay,
that will be required as well.
Zach, this is Joe. Who's the applicant on this?
It should be Zach or Elizabeth Mountier, I believe.
Okay. I'm promoting Zach.
Any more questions from the commission to staff? Okay, applicant, Zach, welcome.
Hello, can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Go ahead and throw my video on here so you can see my beautiful face. I appreciate everybody taking the time to listen to this case and go over it over the last couple of meetings. This has been a long running request from us. I appreciate Zach and all his help in it. I did want to provide some clarity around and clarity in context and hopefully have a question answered. So again, my name is Zach Rancier, representing the case for the rezoning of 2029 Summit Street. My wife and I initially, we submitted the request so that we could have that lot rezoned to build a single family home on it. Prior to the city planning application meeting, we met with our surveyor. He saw the options of an R5 versus a 2.5. He said he recommended to us an R5. We went ahead and had an application meeting and was advised to an R 2.5 instead. We went ahead and submitted that application. I believe we had our first meeting or initially met with everyone here back in December, I believe. That was the first time, and have since had multiple continuances. And in between those times, we were sent an invoice for a plan amendment fee of $670. That threw up some red flags because we did not know about that previously. It was just kind of, here's an invoice for almost $700. So looking into it a little bit more, looking at the area plan, and talking with neighborhood association and our surveyor, we decided to change our application to an R5 rather than 2.5. This being because we felt it better matched our situation and the direction of the neighborhood. So the last meeting that we attended, February 2nd, a CPC member asked for clarity about removing the fees because we had been charged a continuance fee to send out an additional notice that we're changing from an R 2.5 to a 5. And they mentioned, it's possible that we had been pulled in the wrong direction initially. The city planner responded that we had been advised to rezone to an R 2.5 because it wasn't clear if we were looking to build 1 unit or 2 units on the property. It's never been in any sort of question of if we're building a duplex or apartments or anything like that. It's always been a single family home. And we have emails going back to October stating this. It's always been very clear. And so we feel the process has been unnecessarily lengthy and costly for us, emotionally, financially, and time is money, right? This has been going on for months. So looking at the greater downtown area plan, I guess I have a specific question. First off, I want to say I'm glad that this is hopefully going to move forward, and I'm glad for an approval. But looking at the greater downtown area plan, it states that an R5 is consistent with low density residential zoning. This is what we initially wanted to zone to anyways. However, we were directed in the path of an R25. I understand that's because that's what the surrounding lots are zoned at. Most of those being either duplexes or multifamily homes. And so we felt a little bit misleaded to be asked to be zoned to a 2.5 rather than a 5, since a 2.5 is actually a high medium density, which does not match the area plan whatsoever, and an R5 would have because it falls under a low density plan. So we're asking for, essentially, can we have a refund of that $678 and not have to amend the area plan? And, if not, why? So thank you.
Okay.
Just checking the area plan really quick. So it might be a minute before I can respond to that.
Okay. Any questions from the commission to the applicant while we wait to see what area plan states?
He feels that he's been misled. I'd like to know he was misled by who specifically.
Right. So I think that this case in particular is it's due to a lot of miscommunication and I don't do this for a living, right? So I'm trusting that somebody that I hire and the city are able to work together with our best interest and the neighborhood and the area plan's best interest to follow in line with all those. I understand that a 2.5 would work perfectly for what we want to do, except for the fact we have to pay an extra fee of almost $700. However, we're not looking at just our project. We're looking at the neighborhood as a whole. we're not looking to change an area plan. We're not looking to build apartments or duplexes or anything like that. And we're not trying to open up avenues to do that. This is supposed to be our forever home. And we're hoping that we would have been guided towards the least contentious and most accurate zoning possible. And I guess that's where we feel we were misled.
Yeah, because I know the neighborhood, including myself, worked for many years to come up with an area plan, that would fit in the best interest of the neighborhood.
So I've done a little bit of research. So if I could speak a little bit more to the pre-application meeting, first of all, I was the one who had the meeting with the property owners. I just wanted to make it very clear, staff has multiple pre-application meetings every week. And so when I spoke previously at the previous meeting, I was recalling to the best of my recollection what I had discussed at that meeting. That was back in October. And I believe, to the best of my recollection, that I recommended R2.5 because it's adjacent to other R2.5 zonings and allowed for the construction. It does require an area plan amendment. However, as I looked back at this area plan amendment, the current R5 zoning that they're requesting does not require an area plan amendment. So I believe we could issue a refund if they choose to go forward with this rezoning. Joe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the current recommendation by the area plan amendment, it recommends residential low, which includes R5, R6, R7.5, and R10 zoning districts.
Okay.
Does that mean 10.1 would not be required?
Correct. The R5 zoning doesn't require an area plan amendment. Correct.
Okay. So that would change this from a rezoning from 2.5 to just an R5, and then still meet the the requirement that he needs for this second home on this lot.
Yep.
Less the lots consolidation piece that still needs to be done. Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Joe or Sarah, how do we proceed with that? I mean, if the area plan is really not necessary, how do we go about that piece?
We would normally say if it's gotten to this point that we cannot refund it. However, given what I've heard, I think it's reasonable to do that, to go ahead and refund it.
And I guess you, Joe, let me know if you have a different idea, but I think you could just dismiss the case if we're not moving forward.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that would be dismissed, the 10.2 piece or 10.1. Yeah.
Yeah.
But still hold the 10.2. Okay.
I
Any
also
other
just want to
questions?
be really clear with the commission. There's the term misled has been used a lot, and there's a line between misleading and just getting mixed up and making mistakes. And I just think that's important to point out. Last year since April, we've had more than 650 pre-application meetings as a group. And right now I have 4 planners. So it is very difficult to keep all this straight. So I think that needs to be understood by the commission and by our customers.
Yeah. Understand. Okay, any other questions from the commission to the applicant? So seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony.
Richard Hernandez, followed by Lauren Thompson.
Okay. Mr. Hernandez, when you take yourself off mute, please state your name and address for the record.
Richard Hernandez, 2106 Holly, president of the West Side Neighborhood Association. And we are in support of this. There was a lot of mix up, but I'm glad that you all are going to do the right thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lauren Thompson, there you go. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, excuse me, Lauren Thompson, 1625 Jefferson Street, also with the West Side Neighborhood Association. I'm delighted that we are at this point. Is it okay if I share screen for a moment? I want to show, can you all, I'm assuming everybody can see this.
Yeah.
So this is the original, the first email from the applicant to city planning. We've touched on this, so I'm glad I don't have to go into this too much. But given what was said at the last commission meeting, I want to just first thank the commission for having that extra discussion at the last time. And I completely understand the decision that you made last time, why that was made. But you can see in this first email, the applicant asked for R5, and they stated their intent to build a single family home. So I would like to request, so I'm glad that the amendment plan fee is being addressed. I would like to address that second mailing fee as well. It didn't need to be sent out. And just to further that point, that second mailing was sent out and it was not corrected to say R5. So everybody got a second notice saying R2.5. And the response that we got back once that second mailing went out was, it's okay. There was enough notice given because it was put in a newspaper. So that second mailing did not need to happen. And I do not feel that it's appropriate for the applicant to have to pay that fee either. And we tried to get that to stop in the first place. This site plan was also included in that first email to planning about what they intended to build. And then we've already talked about this, so I'm glad we don't need to go on this, but that R5 is included in that residential low urban under GDAP. That's all I need to say. I just hope that we can address both of those fees.
Okay, thank you.
So I just wanted to address the
Hold on, Zach, let's go ahead and finish the public testimony and then we'll come back, okay?
All right, sure.
Thank you.
There was no one
Anybody
else, Mr. Chair.
No one else, okay. So at this time, we'll go ahead and close public testimony. Okay, Zach, go ahead with the comments you had about the second mailing.
Yeah, so the R5 should have been recommended from the get-go. However, that didn't happen. And as a result, since the R5 is still a more intensive zoning than the R6, it would still, to the best of my recollection, still require the continuance or the relisting rather, the publication notice. So, and it's already been sent out, which required staff to work on that and send it. So that's why we recommended continuance with fee last time. Just want to point that out.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Sure.
Let's see, anything, Mr. Montier, from the public testimony you'd like to add or anything on this project before we go to amongst the commission?
I just want to say I'm happy to hear that. I appreciate everyone here who's put in the time over the last couple of months. Everyone on the commission and staff that I've worked with. I do appreciate it. I understand that things can get mixed up. Unfortunately, it was an expensive mistake, but you all understand what happened, and we appreciate the refund for that. So, and we also greatly appreciate the effort from the neighborhood association for helping us. So that's everything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this time we'll go ahead and close testimony and speak amongst the commission. It sounds like we've got a couple of thoughts here on one is whether or not the area plan amendment was necessary, and then we had a continuance with a fee, and the fee was charged for that piece as well. So just kind of curious on everybody's thoughts.
I think if we can, we should waive the the continuance fee, just because I believe the understanding from the applicant is that if it had come across as R5, we wouldn't have had to continue. And I believe the continuance was due to the confusion. So if it's possible, I think we do it. But again, I very much appreciate the workload that staff has been juggling, and totally expect things like this to happen. And I don't think anyone should be surprised or assign motive to it.
Okay. Anybody else?
I agree. I think if we can waive it, I would waive it.
What is that fee cost, I guess, Joe?
We're talking about a continuance fee. I think it's $137 or $136.
Okay. I guess, my thought on this is, it's tough, and I understand there are a lot of cases that come through and a lot of things happen, all at once, and they're going to probably continue to happen, I'm going to guess, over a period of time here. Some of that is city's fault, but it's also, fault of the applicant, making sure that they're doing and getting the right thing for them. I agree with, if we didn't need the plan amendment, that should be refunded and done. I hate to set a precedent that every mistake we make or the staff makes, we have to just pay everything back and, for lost time and that. But personally, I'm in favor of just the area plan amendment, but not necessarily the actual re-advertisement fee. So
do we have to, is that part of our purview to make a motion for that?
Well, I have a question, I guess, for Zach or Lisa. Has the continuance fee been paid? Is it something that we have to refund, or is it just something we can void the invoice on?
It's been paid.
Yeah, I think you do have purview, Commissioner Baker, on the continuance fee because you guys are the ones that assessed it. And I know in the meantime, since you assessed it with your motion last time, we've been asked repeatedly to refund and waive it. Staff has no authority to do that. You guys do, but we don't.
I understand the precedent argument. I do think I think one of the challenges the city faces is how to make development easier for single property owners. And so I would be in support of refunding both fees due to this in that context, understanding that we should be careful about not setting precedent.
Yeah, and then kind of like too, as Joe said, that we're the ones that made the motion to approve that. So just take that in mind as well.
I agree that single property owners are not, they may not be as astute as big land developers. And yes, mistakes can be made. And I'd like to see the adoption and the removal of the fee, in that us being human, I think that's why they put erasers on pencils. From time to time, we may make a mistake, but we've been a little bit more careful, down the road, when in dealing especially people who are not continually building houses day after day after day or other things like that, that yes, we can take into consideration the fact that single family people are exactly that,
So, Mr. Chair, this is Forrest Thing. I'd like to also let staff know that we support them as being human. Everyone does make a mistake, and they've admitted to that and given us some justification of workload and what all was going on. So with us having the authority to listen to the details of what happened and now being able to help rectify that, I'm in favor of refunding both fees as requested.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion then?
I'll make the motion for adoption with a removal of the fees.
So if I could restate that for you, if you don't mind. You're looking for approval of docket item 10.1 with the refunding of the, well, you're looking for approval of docket item 10.1 with
Yes.
the change in zoning, or I got to start all over. Basically, docket item 10.1 will be dismissed. And then plan to do a refund of the plan amendment fee of $670 plus the advertisement fee of, was it $130? Is that correct, or is that 170?
I heard 137, but yeah.
Of 137. Okay. And then you're also looking for approval of docket item 10.2 with the change from it being zoned from R2.5 to just to R5.
R5, correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's
Second.
136.
I'm sorry?
It's 136.
130. Okay. So the refund of $670 for the plan amendment fee, as well as $136 for the re-advertisement fee. Correct? All right. So I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mhm.
So I've got a motion and a second for all of that. So Lisa, do you mind taking roll call, please, on that motion?
Yep. Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Nay?
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, looks like the motion passes then to dismiss docket item 10.1 and approve docket item 10.2. In addition, have a refund coming to you, Mr. Montier, for the fees for the plan amendment as well as the re-advertisement fee. We appreciate your patience on this and staff, working, and sorry they made the mistakes, but hopefully we can move forward and you'll have a very successful project.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I say, sorry, Mr. Chair, can I say one thing? I'm in the process of initiating that, and Mr. Mountier will want to get this changed because right now the billing contact is Kim Gard, who's the missing third person here, who's not in the attendance at the hearing. So Kim Gard will get the refunds. And you probably don't want that, neither does the commission. So you'll need to get that changed in order for you to get the refund.
Okay, who can I contact to have that changed?
You'll need to add yourself as a contact. I think this is part of the issue that has arisen today, commissioners, is that the property owner is not a contact on this application. So they'll need to add themselves as a contact to Compass KC and add yourself as the billing contact then. So you have to create an account on Compass KC.
Okay, we've since done that.
We can't like cut you a check and send it to you. It would be automatically added back to the same account that it was paid from unless you change that.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and do that.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure he was aware of that.
Okay, so we have, it's 11:25 and we have what, 2 cases left? Everybody still okay just to push ahead or need a restroom break and a quick drink? Because I'm kind of in favor of a quick restroom break and then come back and finish.
Break.
So let's take, so it's 11:25. Let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break and be back at 11:40, and then we'll finish out the next 2 cases. Thank you.
people like you and others to have brief the public to limit the spread of misinformation about
Looks like we'll give everybody here a minute to get back online so we can get started again.
I am here since I don't have a picture.
Can't wait till you fix that.
I guess I'm gonna have to go out and get a camera.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
All right, we'll work on that.
I'm here too.
Okay. So Commissioner Baker, you're going to recuse on these next two cases, 11 and 13. I think that's what we have left.
Yep.
Okay.
Is there anything afterwards, or?
I thought I had one thing, but kind of forgotten what it was.
Okay.
Are you working the? You're not. Are you working the vote on in April?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
So, well, if that's the case, I might just log off and get to work. So, thanks everyone, and I'll see you guys later.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, let's go ahead and reconvene the meeting. Joe, are you back?
I'm back.
Okay. So we have 6 commissioners now, since James is recusing from the next 2 cases. So let's go ahead with docket item number 11.
Right, on docket item 11, we have 11.1, case number CPC 2021-00004. Request to amend the greater downtown area plan to change the recommended land use from low density residential to downtown residential, located at 803 East 27th Street. And docket item 11.2, case number CPC 2021-00005. Request to approve a rezoning for the same piece of ground from District R2.5 to District DR-1, which is downtown residential. Zach Nelson is our staff planner.
Good morning again, Zach Nelson, City Planning staff. So these next 2 companion cases are located just a few blocks east of Crown Center within the Longfellow neighborhood. So more specifically, this is a property that stretches in between Charlotte Street to the west and Camel Street to the east, and it's just south of East 27th Street. This is the High Aspirations site. It's surrounded mostly by single-family residential to the south, and then some multifamily to the north. And so before I begin with the site plan and all that, I think it's important to provide a little bit of background about High Aspirations and some of their operating characteristics. And so High Aspirations is a local nonprofit that provides mentoring services to address social, emotional, academic, and spiritual needs for African-American males aged 8 to 18. And so they're currently operating on the site, but it's considered legally non-conforming, and it includes administrative office uses, after-school tutoring, mentoring, and carpentry. And High Aspirations previously met with staff, and staff notified them that construction or expansion of this use would be considered expansion of the legal nonconformance, which is not permitted. And so that's why these are before you today. And so in terms of the specific requests, the applicant is first requesting an area plan amendment to change the recommended land use for the greater downtown area plan from residential low density to downtown residential. And then the second request is a rezoning from R2.5 to DR-1, which Joe mentioned is downtown residential. And this would allow for expansion of the uses on the site. So this is looking generally south at the front of the building. It's a brick building and it's built right up to the property line. And then this is the parking lot. This is looking south. So this is on the east side of the building. They've already done some work to the site, as you can see. And then this stretches all the way to the street to the east, as I mentioned. So in terms of the site plan, the applicant is proposing several new amenities to the site. I'll begin kind of here on what's number 4 in that use table down below. This is kind of a granite path surrounded by raised plant beds. There's kind of a sloped walking path just to the east of that. And then to the east of that sloped path, there's kind of a pavilion area, which will really be the focal point of the site. There's also flower beds or a flower garden rather, and a sitting area in the southeast corner here. And then there's a fire pit as well, some sitting areas, and then a playing field, and then a wraparound track as well. So this will make much more use of the site than how it's currently being used. So this is just a rendering of the pavilion that's being proposed. And then it also has a closed position, as you can see at the top here. This will allow for just some gathering space. It'll be shaded. And then here's some additional renderings. It shows the fire pit here. And then this is just looking at the north elevation as well. It'll be about 13 feet tall. And again, this is just intended to make better use of the site, additional gathering spaces, you can eat out there, things like that. So staff is very supportive of this and recommends approval without conditions for the area plan amendment and for the rezoning. And I can answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, any questions from the commission to staff? This, I guess the question I have, nobody's going to live here, right? Or are they?
No, not to the best of my knowledge, no one will live there, no.
And so is the rezoning to a downtown residential, is that kind of it seems like it'll be a residential spot, people living there, but it's really not, correct?
No, it allows for residential uses, but it really just kind of encapsulates all of the uses that they're proposing.
Okay.
Allows for some flexibility.
Okay.
And Zach, are they keeping, there's a chain link fence that wraps the front and the east side of the property. Is that staying?
I believe so. I think the applicant can confirm that. I believe it's staying now, to the best of my knowledge.
So I'd like to follow up to Chairman Crowell's question. Currently, it's administrative and activity spaces usage within the building. But as time goes on, they would be able to change that to residential units within that building with this zoning change?
Yeah, the applicant has stated that they don't intend to use the site for anything other than what I've described. But yeah, theoretically, the zoning would stay with the land. And so theoretically, yes, it could be used for residential in the future.
And then that means they would not have to come back to us. They could just change to that usage.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
One point of clarification there, it would depend on the scope of the residential project. If it's more than 20 units, it would have to. But if it's less than that, it would not have to come back to Planning Commission.
And this is more for my own knowledge, but so I believe that when I've looked at different types of uses in residential, I mean, often residential zoning allows for neighborhood serving retail and other uses such as this, right? And so I think it's just confusing or maybe not a misnomer, but residential doesn't mean it's just for residential uses, and that's why you're using this zoning, correct?
Correct. It doesn't limit it to residential uses. It's just, it's one of our downtown zoning districts that are fairly rare outside of the downtown core. And so, yes, it has residential in the name, but it doesn't limit it to residential. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, because I think to the questions asked earlier, I've looked around on Parcel Viewer many times and found things that seemingly are zoned strangely, but it's because a lot of our uses allow for a lot of uses besides residences.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? All right, let's go ahead.
I have a question. I guess I just don't understand, to your point, Zach, that this isn't usually used outside the downtown area, why this site is like, do we need more zoning designations that allow for things like this outside of a downtown? Because it doesn't, to me, the programming doesn't distinctively call out as a downtown use. It seems like something that could occur all over the city. I'm trying to understand why it kind of gets put in that bucket.
So are you asking why specifically that DR zoning was chosen versus a?
Yeah.
I think part of it has to do with limiting some of the uses along this corridor. I know in the past there have been other cases that have potentially allowed for like automotive type of uses. And so I think this zoning district is, it does a couple of things. It's flexible in that it allows for a lot of what the High Aspirations is looking to allow. But to the best of my knowledge, I think the DR1 zoning also prohibits a lot of automotive uses. And so I think it's encouraged, or it was encouraged to somewhat protect the character of the neighborhood and to prevent some of the auto uses. And the applicant was the one that recommended this zoning. So I think they could probably confirm that. And if I'm mistaken, they can correct me if I'm wrong. But
and the other districts available do allow those uses that wouldn't be compatible. The other district, like a B zoning district, would allow some uses that are not compatible on a corridor like this. It's immediately adjacent to residential.
So do you, as planning staff, do you have any issue with some of these downtown zoning happening throughout the city? Is that, as opposed to it being something that's kind of central to the downtown area?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, but they would have to do it. The area plan recommends residential, right? So they have to amend the area plan if we were going to a B district or downtown residential. And if we were picking, now we didn't have to suggest this to the applicant because they applied for downtown residential. But if we were looking at if we were choosing between downtown residential and the B district, we would certainly rather have a downtown residential district at this location.
Okay. Cool.
Hey, any other questions? Let's go ahead and welcome the applicant. So applicant, welcome.
Well, Joe Oakes here on behalf of the applicant, 900 West 48th Place. So thank you, Zach, city staff, Joe, commissioners. Joe Oakes with the Polsinelli Law Firm here on behalf of High Aspirations Incorporated. I'm going to try to share my screen here so I can show you. I think staff did an excellent job showing preliminary drawings of the pavilion, but want to introduce you to the applicant a little more. Is that sharing there?
Okay.
All right. So I'm joined today by Henry Wash. He's the president of High Aspirations, who founded the organization in 2004. High Aspirations, as we mentioned, is a local nonprofit that provides mentoring services to address the social, emotional, academic, and spiritual needs of African-American males ages 8 to 18. So the organization started in 2004 with 7 participants. They're now up to 70. And due to the growth and continued fundraising, they actually opened up the existing building in 2019. It was a $1.5 million facility. This pavilion we've received a quote at approximately $400,000, and to date have raised $500,000 to fund the pavilion and the structures around it. Just to give you an idea of sort of what's going on the property. So typically mentees are on the property on weekends only. There's a little bit of weekday programming for featured speakers, but mainly there's weekend sessions that are divided into 2 blocks, tutoring and community service. And during the latter, the mentees are routinely serving the neighborhood by providing services such as cutting grass, picking up trash, removing snow, and just other random acts of kindness, such as providing fruit baskets to the neighbors. As staff has noted, the purpose of our requests are to allow for the construction of the pavilion due to the property's existence as a legal non-conforming use. To touch on some of your points to the downtown residential, that was something exactly, I think Zach hit the nail on the head, that we wanted to preserve the residential character of the neighborhood and go to the least intensive zoning district that would allow our existing use, which is that administrative office use with limited woodworking. That's an use for a woodworking shop. So we're pleased to have the full support of the Longfellow Community Association. As of last night, the neighborhood group voted to support our rezoning and area plan amendment. And just wanted to say that, like many other businesses and organizations, High Aspirations has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and local directives and emergency measures have severely restricted their ability to gather indoors of its existing meeting space. We feel that the construction of the pavilion is going to solve this problem by providing a safe alternative outdoor meeting space so that High Aspirations can continue its mission and positively influence the lives of many young men in this community. So in light of these challenges and the organization's desire to expand its reach, we respectfully request your support and approval and are happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, any questions from the commission to the applicant?
I had a question about that fence on the front side and on the east side, if that was going to stay.
I believe so. We've got Henry Wash with High Aspirations here as well. There was a fence recently put up on the west and south side that's a wrought iron. I'm not sure if the chain link is going to stay. Henry Wash, if you are on, you want to raise your hand as to that piece.
I promoted him.
Joe, is it possible to take down your screen share here so we can see all the members
Yep.
attending?
Absolutely.
Unless you've got something you'd like to show from that. There we go.
Hello, my
Welcome,
name is
Mr. Wash.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. We actually went through a situation. Those pictures that you saw, to answer your question, Ashley, those are old. And so we have actually redone the fence. The neighbors were very happy. The aesthetics matches the neighborhood, the aesthetics. And so we have a wrought iron now up. And some of it is chain link, but majority of it is wrought iron, and it matches the aesthetics, and they were happy with that change.
Sounds good. I think because you're creating such a welcoming space, it would be nice to have it feel that way, and not feel like there's a barrier. So
I agree 100%.
Are people going to be able to use your facility outside of business hours or weekends or anything like that? Or is it really going to be closed and just used by your business there?
We primarily use it for our young men who are members for safety purposes. This is the first type of facility of this nature where we only allow members simply to keep these guys safe because of who they are and the conditions that surround their lives. And so, and we want to make sure that we keep this community safe as well. When we first got here, we were approached by folk who were drug dealers, prostitutes, and some other folks. We picked up trash, needles, all types of stuff off our property, condoms. And so we want to protect the boys and keep people who would harm them out and keep things safe.
Sure. All right. Any other questions from the commission to the applicant? Okay. At this time, we're going to open it up for public testimony. Joe, is there anybody like to speak about? Let's raise our hand for.
Yeah, someone named Dana Nelson, who I've just promoted, has raised their hand.
Dana, if you don't mind, as you take yourself off of mute, please state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. I guess I have 1 minute left for morning.
Yes.
My name is Dana Nelson, and 2015 Stratford Road, Mission Hills, Kansas. I am a volunteer with High Aspirations, actually on the board at this time. One thing about the neighborhood is that High Aspirations has engaged the neighborhood in many different ways. We have cookouts where we invite the neighbors to come. As was already mentioned, the young men, the mentees, do a lot of work in the neighborhood. So to your question about whether it's open for others to use, that is community engagement, yes. But in general, right now, as Henry said, it is going to be strictly for the mentoring program. And I must say that this is going to be a beautiful facility, a great addition to the Longfellow neighborhood. We're still working with parts of the neighborhood that are not as safe, and we are doing everything we can to make this an upgrade, and it will be an upgrade. So thank you.
Yep, thank you. And my question about if it's open or not was more from a standpoint of just curiosity thing, you know, not so much making it open for the community, you know.
Yeah, so we with the neighborhood association, we've told them that they can use this if it's available. And partnership, we do partner a lot with Longfellow on different things. So,
yep, thank you. Joe, is there anybody else that's raised their hand to speak regarding this case?
No one else.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close public testimony at this time. Anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Oakes and Mr. Wash?
we'd like to say thank you for your support, and we really appreciate everything you guys have done and are doing.
Thank you. With that, Commission will have a discussion here if you'd, or I'll take a motion.
Move to approve docket items number 11.1 and 11.2 without conditions.
Second.
Okay, so I got a motion and a second. Lisa, do you mind taking roll call on the motion, please?
Commissioner Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like motion passes. We appreciate you coming in and thank you for all the work that you do in the community. Look forward to hearing more about you and learning more how we could help.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Last case of the day, Joe.
The last one is docket item 13, case CPC 2020-00208. This is Westport Commons 2. It's a request to approve a rezoning from District UR to District UR to allow for an amendment to a previously approved plan on 11 acres at 315 East 39th Street. Jamie Hickey is the staff planner.
Yes, good afternoon. We'll go ahead and get this started so that we can wrap up this docket. So let me share my screen. There we go. All right, what we have before you is an amendment to a previously approved plan that was approved in 2019 in order to make some changes to that proposed redevelopment of Westport High School, which is a historic site located at 315 East 39th Street. The applicant did hold a public meeting on January 12th of this year. This site is located in Westport, or Midtown, I guess, just east of Westport. More specifically between McGee and Locust, 39th and 40th Streets. And again, it is the historic Westport High School facility. As kind of a background, the site was sold or closed by the KC-Mo School District in 2010. It has been vacant. The developer has purchased the site and has an agreement with the school district for redevelopment. It came before City Plan Commission for rezoning and redevelopment, proposed redevelopment, and now as kind of the needs have changed for the site, the applicant is back before you to kind of propose some changes. One of the changes is removing the 39th Terrace east-west connection that was planned, and instead providing an Oak Street as a north-south connection through the site. And additionally, the applicant is proposing some other changes to the phasing and details of the project. That includes some changes to kind of the use and unit and floor area count. Specifically, the original plan called for a maximum of 220 residential units. This is increasing that maximum to 308 possible residential units. Retail and associated garage floor area, they were originally proposing about 26,000 square feet of planned retail and associated garage space. Now they're proposing just under 6,000 square feet of such a use. And then a total maximum square footage of building floor area for commercial from 517,000, a new floor area for 400,000 square feet to just under 6,000 square feet. So there are some changes to the site. You can kind of see in the site plan here. This is what they are currently proposing. So again, you can see that Oak Street is proposed to go from 39th down to 40th throughout the site. They are proposing surface parking here at the corner, and a few other changes. They have taken out the detail for the residential that is planned here. The residential is still planned, but that will have to come back for final plan approval at a later date. This was what was originally proposed and approved. So we had a commercial building here. We had 39th Terrace going east-west throughout the site, and Oak Street was planned to terminate there at 39th Terrace. So there are some changes, additional parking, as I'm going to flip back, proposed here and here. So there are some changes, and the applicant can speak more to kind of the market demands and what they're seeing as far as their reasoning for these changes to the site. But with that, staff is recommending approval subject to the corrections and conditions in the report to be resolved prior to City Council. It should be noted that there's a traffic impact study that has not been finalized and approved by staff. So that will need to be finalized prior to this going before City Council, as well as a couple other land development corrections. And again, final plan approval will be required for the details of that building, the multifamily building, prior to permitting at that. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions on this project. It's come through this process a couple times for a couple different reasons, but I believe it's the first time this City Planning Commission is seeing it. So if you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'd be happy to turn it over to the development team.
Okay, any questions from the commission to staff?
Jamie, I had a question about I'm trying to understand that total building floor area reduction from 517,000 to 5,900. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so their overall kind of new building that was, our new floor area that was proposed, you'll see in the plans, and the tables are included in the staff report. That maybe is a little confusing on the slide. I apologize. The tables might be slightly easier to comprehend. But they are just doing a pretty large reduction in new building area at the time. They floated originally a lot of proposed uses for this site. They had intended to secure the UMKC Conservatory as a tenant originally, and when that deal didn't go through and the UMKC decided to stay on their current campus, that really changed their programming goals. And so I think the applicant and development team could probably speak to that in greater detail, but it's a pretty big shift in the proposed or intended use at this point, because the conservatory was such a key anchor tenant originally. So I think that's where a lot of the changes come from. And again, I think they could speak to that in greater detail.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? So let's go ahead and welcome the applicant. Applicants, welcome.
Good morning. My name is Chip Walsh. I'm with HP Development Partners 2. I'm part of the development team. Also with me today is Christine Sutherland from Burns McDonald. They are handling the design side for us. I'm going to share screen now and kind of walk through a couple of things that have been touched on by Jamie. and then would be happy to take any questions that you all have. So give me 1 second as I get my share screen going here.
Okay.
And are you all able to see the aerial shot now?
Yep, we've got it.
Perfect. So again, this shows a aerial view of the site, approximately 11 acres. The Westport High School was built in 1908, shuttered several years ago, was part of the repurposing initiative. The ownership group, which is Westport Commons first phase, acquired the Westport Junior High here to the north where my cursor is. That was adaptively reused and brought back online in 2017. It is now a co-working facility known as PlexPod. That site is 110,000 rentable square feet over 4.5 acres. This companion site here is approximately 11 acres over 2 sites. You have the original 1908 structure, the 1964 edition, and then a 1992 annex. You have here where Oak Street shows before. Oak Street used to originally run all the way up to 39th Street. When the school district controlled the site, they did a land assembly in the 90s, as I understand it, where they added the track and field. You also have this ancillary parking over here at McGee and Warwick Street, just to sort of give a little bit of an illustration or reference. As Jamie alluded to, the original plan approval contemplated Oak Street coming in from 39th, going approximately 3/4 of the way through, connecting up with a new east-west connector for 39th Terrace. And really the heart of the changes here for infrastructure is to change now from this configuration to what you see here in the first phase, which would have Oak Street continuing all the way to the south and linking up to 40th Street at the south side, and in a phase approach, come up through Locust for the initial phase that we'll be doing here, and then eventually connecting all the way up to 39th when the full site is built out here several years from now. As was alluded to, the original MPD was done in anticipation of the UMKC Conservatory campus. We were one of 2 finalists. And in moving forward with that, we felt it was appropriate to go ahead and get the MPD in place for those discussions. Obviously, UMKC decided to go a different direction. That was a pretty major shift in what then we would need to do from a development side. And that's what brings us back today to make these requested amendments to the existing MPD. We are now still planning to do mixed use. Commercial will live here sort of in what was the old annex phase. The historic high school structure will be converted to 138 market rate apartments. You'll have parking to the south, so we'll be able to do off-street parking. That is sort of what we're proposing for this initial phase. When we move to later phases, we will over here on the east side of Oak Street build out additional new construction units, parking for those units. And then we anticipate having approximately 7,000 square feet of retail here that would be front facing 39th Street. The other change that we've made is from where we were previously. We showed some illustrations for what we contemplated would be dorms for servicing the conservatory campus. We still believe that multifamily is a good use here, but given the conceptual status of this building at this time, we felt it was more appropriate to remove the elevations and just, make our commitment to the design standards that are appropriate for this area. I believe that's a summary of the changes. I'm happy to take a deeper dive as needed, but also want to be respectful of the time for the commission as well.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission?
Yeah, can you speak to what these units are going to look like in terms of number of bedrooms, and then also what the proposed rents will be?
Sure. So for where we are right now, we'll be 138 units, combination of studio apartments, one bedrooms of two different configuration types, and then 10 two bedroom, two bath units. Rents will be based on sort of what the market study supports. Right now, we anticipate rents running from anywhere from $1.40 up to $2 a square foot based on location and unit type, sir.
I was going to try to do some math, but you've probably already done it. Can you give me a sense of what that's going to be for a studio or a one bedroom?
I'm sorry, say that again, sir. I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, could you give me an estimate as to the range of what a studio or one bedroom would cost? And the reason I ask is just because we reviewed a blight study for this, a few months ago, and I recall having some regrets about not asking more questions at the time, just because I know that we were told that the parcel is valued at one point, I think it was 8 million. I haven't looked at my notes, and I just remember thinking that a building of this size and everything, I think that I don't know, maybe we should have been asking more questions. Not that the determination was wrong. And so I'm just curious, now that there have been some changes and that the project is being scaled back, I know that partially my thought process on the project was there's going to be a lot of investment in this area. And so therefore, maybe because there's going to be so much financial investment, it's worth deeming this area blighted, although that it's been owned by the same ownership for the last couple of years. And so now I'm just curious, as the scale of investment is pulled back, I'm just curious if it's also changed the rent that these apartments are going to garner.
Well, so Commissioner, I would respectfully disagree with that. The scale of investment has been pulled back. I would say that the scale of investment has evolved over time based on use. We still see this as a long-term hold for this property by our ownership group. Ownership group has strong ties to Kansas City, some going back 3 generations. The decision to move away from the conservatory campus was not our decision. It was one made by the university, which was outside of our control. We thought that would be an excellent use, and we thought the potential to then do future programming around dorms to support that, maybe even a future administrative building would be good compatible uses for the UMKC conservatory community. Here, we've seen this as a second phase of the larger Westport Commons, which combined is 13 acres and approximately 300 square feet gross of improvement, both commercial and residential uses. To come to your question, I think our average studio size is about 600 square feet. So those will range from anywhere from $160 to $2, depending on location. So I think that would, give you enough to do the economics.
That helps. And also I should note that when we did the blight study, the conservatory conversation, I think, had already come and gone. So I kind of combined some things and was misleading the way that I said that. But I wanted to note that as, well, when we reviewed it, the conservatory conversation was not a part of it. So I apologize for being confusing there.
So, and I sort of lost my train of thought, to take an existing structure that sat vacant for 6+ years before we acquired it, and where, an easier direction might be just to simply demolish and start over, but recognizing the importance that the structure has, both just architecturally, historically for this area, and just from a sustainability perspective of being able to reuse it, we believe this is a more appropriate direction to go. But there are costs for making that direction. And those are costs that we're prepared to bear, but some of them do have an impact. And so, yes, a blight study did come before the commission earlier in the last 6 months, I believe. That relates to a request that is pending for sales tax exemption on construction materials. That is the only thing that is being sought right now with respect to this project here for the reuse of the high school itself. So.
Thanks. And yeah, those rent rates sound good to me.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I had a question, and I don't necessarily base my decision on this, but because you originally had a site that was much more dense, do you foresee the possibility of, say, that south parking lot serving additional development at some point, or putting a parking garage in to serve that, and creating more density on that site? Is there anything maybe from the utility standpoint or whatnot that might prohibit that additional growth down the line?
So, because the fact that you have a historic structure, National Park Service guidelines will, at least for the near future, for the next 5 years, sort of limit sort of the heights. We've also have had discussions of Southmoreland where we've talked about being either at or maybe 1 story above the existing height. There are also some challenges with just sort of the ground. As you go more north and east, you come into a lot of rock excavation. You do have a change in grade as you move from north coming down south. An earlier configuration commissioner at one time contemplated trying to slide a level of structured parking underneath this. We found that to be too costly. We have at times looked at the idea of some sort of structured garage that would usually be dependent upon the use. At one time when we were looking at a higher intensity use with respect to the UMKC, we saw here this having the potential ability to have some type of parking component. But given where we're moving, I don't think we would anticipate doing structure down the road. Now, to try to look out over the horizon of 5 years, it becomes very squishy, for lack of a better word. If we're successful with what you're seeing happening along Main Street with respect to the streetcar and the redensification sort of the Midtown area, to say that there may come a point of time where it makes sense to add more density, it could be there. But to the extent that our group is associated, we would be doing that collaboratively with discussions with the neighborhood, as we have done here the last several years.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the commission?
Yes, this is Commissioner Beasley. Just for clarity on my part, you keep mentioning historic. Is this building registered as a historic building?
It is.
Okay. Just wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
It is.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, Mr. Walsh, if you don't mind, stop sharing your screen.
I will. Give me 1 second to figure out my controls to do that. That's always easier said than done.
So Joe, while he's doing that, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony on this project.
Laura Burkhalter is the first one.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Laura Burkhalter, 4134 Locust Street. I'm the Vice President and Chair of Planning and Development for the Southmoreland Neighborhood Association. And I just wanted to share with you our neighborhood support for this project. This has been a long time coming. I just checked. In the last 3 years, we've had 10 meetings with the developer on this, just to get community buy-off and support of this project. We've worked very well with Chip and his team to meet some of the needs of the neighbors, the immediate neighbors, and also understand the needs of the developer. To that end, the developer is committed to supporting our immediate neighbors and having permit parking on street, since most of the residents there rely on street parking. They do not have driveways. They also intend to provide pedestrian amenities for their tenants, as well as for neighbors adjacent, including trash cans, recycle bins, dog waste stations, lighting, addition of trees. They also are outlining about a ½ acre of public green space in the southwest corner, which was a big item for many residents. We've kind of been using, not myself, but many people have been using the track as a kind of ad hoc park over the years. So I'm glad to be retaining some green space there. And the new configuration of taking Oak Street from 39th to 40th is more reminiscent of the original layout of that portion of the neighborhood. And we are looking forward to having that street go all the way through again. This is also a response from some neighbors. The intermediate street, the original approved layout, was a concern for headlights into windows, and this reduces and eliminates that issue altogether. So it's a positive change for our neighborhood, and we're looking forward to seeing this project go through.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else, Joe?
What else?
Okay. So we'll go ahead and close public testimony at this time. Anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Walsh?
No, we just appreciate the commission's consideration of this amendment, and appreciate Ms. Bulkholder's taking the time to be here on behalf of the neighborhood association to make her comments. So.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we'll go ahead and close testimony. If there's discussion we need to have amongst commission, if not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve docket item number 13 with conditions.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 13. Lisa, can you take roll call, please, on this motion?
Commissioner Beasley?
Aye.
Prowl?
Aye.
Enders?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Rojas?
Aye.
And Sadowski?
Aye.
Okay, looks like the motion passes. So we appreciate you coming in, and good luck with your project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that takes us through the end of the docket items. A little bit of a sad news to report. Ms. Hickey is leaving us, taking on another endeavor, I take it. So certainly we'll miss you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure working with all of you, even though most of you I actually haven't met in person, which is crazy. But thank you so much for your service and your hard work with us. It's always appreciated, and I will miss this. And I might, especially while this is still on Zoom, might pop in to see what's going on from time to time. So you might not get completely rid of me.
Well, I was going to ask how the baby's doing, and now you're leaving us.
Babies are doing well, getting big. I have a 3-year-old and a 7-month-old all of a sudden, and I don't know. It goes
Well, the
by
7-month, yeah, the 7-month-old, we were here when you left for 7 months went fast. I didn't think the baby was that old, but okay.
In the blink of an eye.
Well, good luck to you in your next endeavor, and it was a pleasure working with you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, guys.
You're welcome.
Good luck, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else anybody like to report? I would assume that our next meeting is going to be a little bit longer than today's meeting, and great job, everybody, getting through it. We're getting a lot more efficient, which is nice.
Just because I have Joe on, Joe, are you going to be able to get back to me by Friday on the Skybridge question?
Yeah, I'll talk to Chris today.
And then
Chris
also,
remind me to talk to you.
And then also anyone else on if they want to weigh in. So the Municipal Arts Commission, which meets this Friday, which oversees encroachments, is reviewed a project that I think everyone, including myself, felt really uncomfortable with. And it was 3 Light Sky Bridge. And so I think the commission was just paralyzed with like, wait, could we actually keep this sky bridge from happening? Because the first person who spoke up doesn't like the idea of a sky bridge just because they don't like taking pedestrians off of streets and they think that visually it looks bad. And so I know nothing in terms of how planners look at sky bridges or catwalks or whatever they are called. And we were trying to learn what processes this has already gone through and what it would actually mean if the Municipal Arts Commission, who is really looking at signage for the most part, decided to say, no, you can't have this catwalk at this major building. So if anyone has any input, we're looking for it. We don't know what to do right now.
So you're actually going to discuss this case this Friday, or has it already been talked about?
It had been brought up last Friday, and so we tabled it for a month. And city staff, art administrator James Martin has asked if we're going to. He asked me this week if we thought we'd have enough information to discuss it again. I think we're going to try to punt again another month. But I think everyone is kind of looking for an out, and the out would either be, oh, this was approved by City Planning Commission, this was approved by City Council, this is really just a formality, something along those lines, because right now, again, it seems like a pretty big decision for a municipal arts committee, which is primarily made up of arts professionals, to determine the fate of this development, or this portion of the development.
Gotcha.
So did I understand you to say it came through us already?
I don't know, actually, no. So that's kind of what we're looking for. And that's what Joe is looking into for me. And so he'll, I think, help determine, what processes this has already gone through. But I'm also curious, just from people who have more experience in this world than I do, whether it's determined to be a good practice to create pedestrian catwalks at the 7th floor in between 2 residential buildings.
So this is Joe. I think the question that Tyler had posed to me, at least the way I heard it, I'm kind of going to repeat it back for confirmation, Tyler, is that what we need to do, and I hope Chris is listening, is find out whether the approved plans for the Power and Light District, which were approved 15 years ago by this commission, by the Planning Commission and the City Council, whether they contemplated or were approved with the skywalk being proposed. And if that's not the case, we need to regardless of whether that's the case or not, either way, we need to let Tyler know. But to answer your question, Commissioner Beasley, yes, you did, not you specifically, of course, but this commission did review those plans years ago. None of the staff, I don't even think Olofu was here at the city yet. Maybe Sarah was then, but she wasn't with CPC so at that time. So there is no institutional knowledge. We have to actually check that file and confirm that.
Not that old, Joe. I've not been here that long.
You're right.
And do you all have opinions? Once we find out whether it was approved with that or not, do you all have opinions on whether these are good building and design practices?
I mean, there's been I can't remember what project it was, but there's one project I can think of where we did support that. Actually, Operation Breakthrough on Troost, we ended up supporting that. And that was, so on a case-by-case basis, yes, we can support it. And in that case, it was more about safety because of children going back and forth across Troost. There's another project, but I can't remember where it was.
I did that.
What it is.
Truman,
it was a
Truman Medical. Joe.
Truman Medical.
Yeah, the H2. So I connected that over East 22nd Street, which is a very busy street too. And then they also got it over, I think, Charlotte to get into the garage, so people can go from the garage to H1 and H2. And that's just for safety also.
So those are kind of unique uses. I mean, so generally we would prefer people to be on the street, yes, but sometimes there's unique populations served where we're more supportive of it. And I think really the question in this case is if it was previously approved by the council in 2005 or 4, whenever that was, then we'd have to allow them to proceed with it, in my opinion. If it wasn't, then that's a whole other ball of worms, or whatever the phrase is, that we'd have to engage you on, Tyler.
Okay, that's helpful.
The other
And
thing is, Tyler, you said it's on the 7th floor.
Yeah, I think it's connecting 2 light and 3 light. And so they said it's their amenities floor. And so the idea would be that, they could have one amenity center and people could access the gym from both units or from both buildings.
Yeah, I think to me that the fact that it's that high up, I think makes it more valid, because if it's just the 2nd level, you'd like to think people could just walk down a set of stairs and walk across the street. But, I think there's a whole design discussion of whether, how nice it looks, how strange it might look to people in the nearby buildings, or what views it might block. But I think in general, it seems probably a good idea. Okay. As long as we don't go too crazy, we don't necessarily want sky bridges everywhere.
It's helpful.
Right. Yeah, just my experience, you see them in a lot of places for safety as well as weather, so that you can have full-time access from one building to the next to the next. You see a lot of them up in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
That way you can enjoy every facility wherever you want to walk to. You just don't have to go out in the snow or weather or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I agree with Ashley that if it's high up like that, I don't see anything wrong with it. Depending on what kind of views that it blocks, but being a little bit lower, that's kind of harder to approve, that kind of thing.
Very helpful.
So it depends what your time.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Everybody got my message about the long range plan, the KC playbook. So any comments or questions on that, please just let me know. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add at this time.
So one comment. I have one comment. It's sort of related to that, is that there's a lot of discussion right now around revamping the scorecard as it relates to incentives. And something that I'm trying to advocate for is that the Planning Commission and the planning staff are more involved in that process, and ultimately that scorecard is something that we could see as a part of our determining factor of negotiating on a project. I don't know if any of you have opinions on that, or how we could maybe move that discussion forward. To me, I see like the Planning Commission being a big part of how developers negotiate their projects. It's not just the incentive part, it's all of it. So I think sometimes people forget that. So I'm trying to advocate for that scorecard to be something that we can see, when we ask questions like, is this project affordable, or is this project connected to transit? That scorecard would answer those questions like at a quick glance. And so I'd like to see that be a part of our staff reports.
Just trying to kind of think through what that really looks like. What do you mean by a scorecard? Because we're looking at everything land use related. So, is it looking at the conditions and the code which is before them to do their development? If they do all of them, or maybe cut back 1 or 2 to help with some of their costs for redevelopment. I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah. I think maybe it's, a lot of things that we've talked about around, like, should we allow, certain variances or certain height changes or certain exceptions? Like, we're always sort of negotiating and saying, yeah, this is for a good project. We really want to see this project happen. We're willing to make that concession. And I think if we had sort of a standardized way of how we do those concessions, that it's not, that it sort of carries through from the incentive process. So if a developer is told through the scorecard process that they have a good project, meaning that it like helps bring in jobs, or it has an affordability factor, or it has a connection to transit, or there's some sort of equity component to it, that we are also like looking at it from that same lens, that we're saying, yeah, okay, like we as multiple departments see this as a good project, that they don't come to the City Planning Commission and we have a whole different opinion of what we think of that project. Not to necessarily take our, ownership or authorship of that out, but just as a way to kind of give a little bit more certainty to the development community that if the incentive programs can score highly in terms of the merits of the project, that we would have access to that information. We could also vary our opinion, but we would at least have access to it. Just something to think about. We don't necessarily need to decide an opinion, but it's just something that's been discussed, and I'd like to see, the CPC and the planning staff be part of that conversation.
Okay. Gotcha. Anything else? I'll talk to Director Williams about, because one of the big items that came up today is the, alternative languages that some of the reports are produced, and seeing how we could maybe take a look at that and if there's anything we can do to modify that. But and really taking into account Tyler's comments on that if somebody needs it in a different format or language, that maybe they click here and they can be directed to that, if that helps out. But we'll see if they can come up with some ideas how to do that.
Thanks, Kobe. And then is there a way for us to add some more teeth to the community engagement requirement? Maybe that's an opportunity that if that request is made, that it is on the applicant and not on the city, as a way to just trying to address that the department is already super lean, the planning department, and certainly the city is facing a budget crisis. All those things are very real, but wondering how can we kind of offset that, but still provide opportunities for engagement.
Sure. Yeah, I think that should be part of that discussion on how we could do that. And then certainly any change that would be made, especially with a regulation or rule like that, would be brought back to this commission to take a look at and approve or modify accordingly. Sarah, you're gonna maybe say something?
Well, I just wanted you to know, I did reach out to the city attorney during our meeting to make him aware of this discussion. I think we're probably going to reach out to the city manager because, I agree with Joe. This is a global issue, you know what I mean? And the city needs to think about all the boards, all the commissions, and that sort of thing. So I've already reached out to him and we'll follow up on that.
Okay.
So I wanted you to add departments to that too. It's not just boards and commissions.
Right. But I think for it to be a meaningful effort, it needs to include the city as a whole, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We're on the same page.
Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, then let's end the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
But